The 2 Count, where comedy meets wrestling. Please comment, share, and like, and if you're watching the live stream, join us with your comments and questions. And now here are the hosts of the 2 Count, comedian John Russell, and wrestling broadcaster Big Ace.
Hey, good Tuesday afternoon, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. John Russell here along with Big Ace, and you're watching the 2 Count. How do you do, Rowdy? Good to see you, my friend.
Hello.
We have, first of all, I'm excited because I got the new Indiegogo light that I paid for a long time, like in December. Finally came. They finally manufactured. Finally came. Don't I look good? Don't I look good now? The lighting looks fantastic. How you doing, Zach? Good to see you, friend.
You look way brighter.
I look brighter. I look smarter. I look like I belong. So I'm happy. Shut up, you. So I'm happy about that.
So wait, why? Like, how long did you have this thing on order for?
December.
And you just got it?
Well, because it was Indiegogo. They literally had the plans, showed the plans, and said, "Here's the prototype. Would you like them?" Hey, Sin, how are you? Good to see you.
Okay. So Indiegogo, you're funding.
Yeah. Hey, okay, Sammy, good to see you, buddy. We got it.
Hey, guys.
Yeah. So it just takes a while, and then they have to manufacture it, and then they have to figure out how to mass produce it, and then they send it out.
So is it pretty cool? Pretty nifty?
Oh, dude, it's awesome. It's just this tiny little thing, and it's got an accordion, ballast tunnel thing, and it's nice and bright, and it clips right onto the monitor. It's probably one of the best $50 I ever spent.
Nice. Thanks, Sin.
Anyway, thank you, Sin. Thank you, Sin. Woo.
Well, you'll have to make sure to bring your lighting down, and I'll bring mine too.
I absolutely will.
Gonna need it in the Waterloo when we set everything up in the room.
Absolutely. So, for those of you that just joined us, thank you so much. We have a literally fantastic show tonight. Our guest tonight, he was the comedy beat writer for City Pages. If you live in the Twin Cities area, you remember that it was, in City Pages was around forever. It was around the first time I moved to Minneapolis back in the 1984, 85. It was.
When did they end?
Just within the past couple of Patrick can tell us, because I'm sure that wasn't a happy day for him. But I actually, this is no lie. Before online dating and stuff, I actually met my wife.
On the online dating?
No. I actually met my wife in the City Pages personal. Way back in like 1985, 86.
When you say personal, like, was it an ad?
You would put a personal ad in, and then people would answer it yes. It was like online dating.
How many of those did you answer, and then like an hour later, you're like, oh wait, I owe you money?
None. It's a totally different thing. Anyway, so not only did he come over and start as the comedy beat writer, and literally anything that had anything to do with comedy, he wrote about it in the City Pages. He also was a writer for The Growler and for Thrillist, pretty much also doing comedy on that. But then, and he was kind enough to do a story about me and about what we do here with the 2 Count, because I'm a comedian, and so there's the match, just like we talk about all the time. But we come to find out that he was a professionally trained wrestler as well, who worked on the indies for a while. And so how perfect is it for us to have on? And then, of course, he wrote this beautiful historic book. And it's a history book, but it really isn't. It's a fun book to read, because if you ever saw any of the stand-up comics that started, like Louis Anderson, Scott Hansen, Bill Bauer, Jeff Gerbino, a lot of these other guys, Alex Cole's the big ones, but there's a ton of other ones, Jeff Cesario, and my God, anyway, point being, funny thing about Minnesota, he wrote this book. It's available on Amazon. I read it. I loved it. In part of the reason I loved it is because I know a lot of those guys. But anyway, we are so excited to have on with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big hand for Patrick Strait? And there he is. Hello, Patrick. My gosh.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
We don't actually have any applause, but anyway, yes. Sin, thank you.
The thunderdome of applause in here. I just know I can see the faces, and I know there's enthusiasm. There you go.
My God, they're so happy. So I gotta tell you first of all, I truly enjoyed the book, and the reason I did is because you may have to hop out and hop back in again, Ace.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, the thing is, in OBS, I'm fine. It's just on Twitch.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Twitch,
hold on. Stand by. Let me see if I can fix this. You might just
have to pop me out and pop me back in. Yeah. Walk of it. We were good right till you started the show. Dang it, JR.
I don't know what happened. Hold it. Let me try this. That's for something I don't know. It's called. Is there a thing on your screen there that says Rainbow Puke Fix?
No, that's not a thing.
I don't know how to fix it. You might have to hop out. I can't throw you out. Anyway, there he goes, and hopefully he'll just come right back, and I won't have to add him again.
Here we go.
But anyway, so I love the book. The history is fantastic, and
Thank you.
Yeah, and in the work that you did, and it's so interesting to me because not only I was mentored by Wild Bill Bauer, as many people were in the Twin Cities, and Ace looks better now, doesn't he, Zach? But one of the sort of, I don't know, weird things about Bill. Of course, he died in 2012. He was a good enough friend to me to actually die on my birthday. So, thanks, Bill. But here's the other kind of interesting thing. I had an old acquaintance who got confused about when my birthday was. So about a week before, this other guy says, "Hey, happy birthday," and Bill sees it and posts a message on my Facebook that says, "Happy birthday, I'll see you in hell." And I'm like, awesome. But But so this book, I mean, obviously, is kind of a labor of love for you, right?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, you know what? I love that you did the Bill Bauer voice, because everybody I've talked to, I never had the opportunity to meet Bill myself, but everybody I talked to does a Bill Bauer voice, and it's all like about what you just did. It's very like nasally, and it's got a little bit of like, you know, growl to it. Everybody has a voice. It's great. So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, no, this book has been, you know, I started this about a year, and well, I guess now, gosh, it should have been 2019. So now it's almost 2 years ago. But yeah, funny thing about Minnesota, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, especially if you're in the Twin Cities, right? Like, and even if you're not from here, but if you're a fan of stand-up comedy, you hear about Minnesota as this comedy town, this comedy destination, right? I mean, people, especially people who are in this town, really take a lot of pride in, you know, contributions that Minnesota's made to stand-up comedy, to the clubs, the comics that have come out of here. And, you know, it's one of those things where I moved here in 2007, and I always kind of heard this lore kind of built and built and built. And everybody was like, oh, you know, if, you know, Minnesota comics, man, that's a big deal to be a Minnesota comic. And if you know, if you're a comic, you want to go to Minnesota and play the clubs there. But nobody ever really could tell me that story of, okay, well, why is it like that? And how did it become like that? So, yeah, I mean, to your point, John, to answer your question, yeah, I mean, it was a labor of love because it's a story, you know, I enjoyed telling it, but it's a story that I wanted to know myself just as a comedy fan. And so it gave me the chance to sit down and learn it from people who were there. Like you said, the Scott Hansons and the, oh my gosh, Jeff Gerbinos, all the way, you know, like guys like Joel Madison and Jeff Cesario and Liz Winstead. And then you get into the newer generations like Fancy Ray, Colleen Cruz, and all these different names. And it's just it's a really incredible story, and it really kind of blew me away. You know, even as somebody who's been around the comedy scene for a long time here, you know, I don't think I realized just how deep it really went and how important Minnesota really was until I started working on this book.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, of course, now the younger comics don't necessarily have that history, and I think it's a great tool for them to have that book, because. Yeah. Because in order, I'm a strong believer that in order to know where you're going to go, you have to know where you've been, and I think it's very important to know the history of comedy and how it actually did build around here. I know one of the so many cool parts of it to me, because when I first moved up to Minneapolis, it was about 1985, I believe, and I remember going to the Comedy Cabaret and seeing Scott Novotny and Stephanie Hodge, and remembering that it was kind of in a garage, but it was so much fun. And then so like for me, then years later, and I go up to Fargo and do radio, and then come back, and then I get to work with at least Scott. Stephanie had already become too big, but it's just so cool. Because I get to, you know, one of the things with comedians is that we know each other, but we don't really know each other, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
And so it was very cool for me to get a little more history on some of these guys. And I just think it's a fantastic book.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. And it's funny you mentioned, like, you know, because Stephanie Hodge, she sat down and talked with me, and, you know, she was great. And I think if you read the book, you know, it's not just an infomercial for Minnesota comedy, right? I mean, it definitely it has its highs and its lows. And I think one of the contentious pieces of the book is about the Comedy Cabaret. You know, it talks about the relationship between Stephanie Hodge and Scott Novotny and Scott Hansen. And it was really, I mean, I could tell all these years later, because, I mean, you said you were up here in 85. I mean, this is 40 years later. There is still some bad blood there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they all have very charged up feelings about each other, about what happened. And, you know, when you get three different versions of the same story, it's one of those things where there's always going to be, okay, well, my version is this and his version is that, and our real version is probably somewhere in the middle. And, you know, I heard from all three of them afterwards, you know, about, hey, it didn't happen like this, and this person's full of it, and this person didn't, you know, really say that, and things like that. So it was kind of interesting to me, because another theme through the book is that, you know, there was this camaraderie. You hear all about how, you know, Minnesota was really supportive of each other, and the comics were supportive. And for the most part, that's true. But you still heard about some of the feuds and the bad blood and the things that happened. And, not that I want to sell the book based on how salacious it can be, but there's some dirt to be had in here. There was some dirt that got kicked up along the way.
So let me ask, because I'm completely unfamiliar with what this story is with the comedy. Was it with Cavalcade, you said?
Cabaret, yep.
Cabaret. I'm completely unfamiliar with any of this. So for anybody like me who's watching, what's like the real quick sum up of this story?
Sure. So the quick version of it, right? So the Comedy Cabaret was created to essentially it was the first freestanding stand-up comedy club in Minnesota, like just a stand-up comedy club. Scott Hansen was basically this guy who was brought in. He was one of the original guys who started doing stand-up comedy in a bar here in Northeast Minneapolis. He kind of came in as like the stand-up comedy side of it. So he was booking stand-up comedians and stuff like that. These other two, this married couple, Stephanie Hodge and Scott Novotny, they were more from like the improv world, more like acting. They did a lot more of, like that type of stuff, more variety show, cabaret. And from what I hear, depending on whose version you believe, it sounds like if you listen to Scott Hansen's version, these two kind of looked at it like it was their spotlight for themselves. Like they were very much using this club as a place to, to build up their own reputation, to work on their own stuff. And, again, to hear Scott Hansen's version, he was trying to get more stage time for all these stand-up comics. And these other two were basically just shutting it down because this was their thing. To hear their side of the story, it was that Scott Hansen became very controlling and wanted to make all the decisions and was, only putting his friends on stage, things like this. So it created this really nasty riff. And basically, it kind of split the Twin Cities comedy scene in half. Like you had some people who stayed at the cabaret and you had some people who ended up leaving with Scott Hansen. And they started a new club called Scott Hansen's Comedy Gallery. And from what I understand, John, you may have even been around some of this stuff. There was never like a spoken rule. Like, it was never like, hey, if you work there, you can't work here. But everybody knew that was the deal. Like you could only go one or the other. And that was what happened for a really long time. And, one of the things that a lot of comics will talk about, especially with Scott Hansen, who is, he was a kingpin of Twin Cities comedy. He owned some of the biggest clubs out here. He's responsible for bringing in huge national names before they were national names. He was the first guy to book Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld out here. And, he's got some great stories in the book about bringing guys like Emo Phillips here before he was really like, a household name. But one of the things that you'll hear about Scott throughout the book is that he could be very controlling. He was very much, hey, look, if you work at my clubs, you're not working anywhere else in the state. And that was kind of the impetus of that, was this split at the Comedy Cabaret.
Okay.
It's really a fascinating story, and to be honest, you talk about the bad blood. When Bill took me under his wing, he still kind of had just patched things up with Scott, and I remember Scott had a show, a happy hour show, it was called, that he was booking at the Poorhouse in downtown Minneapolis. And Bill asked me if I would like to go and work it with him. And I said, why, certainly I would. And unbeknownst to me or Bill, at the time, it was the same night that the Aquatennial Parade was going on. And we got in there, and of course there's nobody in there. And I said to Bill, are you sure you've patched things up with Scott? Because it seems like this would be something you'd do to a guy you're not fond of. But
oh yeah. And it's funny that you say that too, because even as these guys, as they got older, they all kind of came back together. But like even now, these guys are all in their 60s, and we did some virtual stuff for the book, and they were still, you could see little things. They're still snipping at each other over. There's still little stuff they were bitching and complaining about each other over. And I was like, you guys are still doing this. And people who knew them back then, who read the book, actually sent me messages. They were like, they're still doing this stuff all these years later. And I was like, I guess. Like, it seems like it never really died. So it sounds like it was a little bit of a love-hate relationship. One of
the funny yes and no, like you say, it's like, you guys are old, can't you let it go? One of the funniest things that I recall was Wild Bill Bauer going on with Common Man Dan Cole, who is Alex Cole's brother, for people that don't know, and absolutely going off on Jeff Gerbino, live on the air, and he just with no. But that was one of the things about Bill. Bill, man, he he didn't like to give things up too much from the just short amount of time that I knew him. I mean, I can't say enough good about him because he helped me immensely, and he's helped many people who I'm sure you know in talking to people. Bill gave everybody a chance. But if you did something to screw over one of his proteges, you were on the list and you were not getting off it.
That's what I understand. And it's funny because I interviewed Bill's son, Patrick Bauer, for a lot of this book. And he knew some of this stuff and he didn't know some of it. And I kind of was telling him some of the stories. And he said almost verbatim what you just said, John. I mean, he basically said, like, that's my old man. He was like, he was great. And like, I mean, I've had so many people, even after this book came out, who have really kind and really incredible Bill Bauer stories. You know, like you said, they talk about, hey, helping you get opportunities to get on stage. But, you know, he would sit down and he'd critique people's sets and he'd help them write jokes and he'd give them, you know, tags and he'd just try to give them advice and things like that. But yeah, if you pissed him off, man, from what I understand, you brought the wrath on you. And actually, I can't remember who it was, but somebody actually in the book had told me, yep, it was kind of a rite of passage. You couldn't call yourself a Twin Cities comedian until Bill Bauer had threatened to kill you, at least one.
And I think that's true. I mean, there's just so many stories, and in fact, I've heard both sides of the story from both people involved. And Bill basically got a guy blackballed all over the country
Really?
because he treated one of his proteges poorly at a tiny little club out in Platteville, Wisconsin. And Bill heard about it and spread the word across the country. But that was the kind of guy that he was. And my God, and I've told people, the younger people, this that and I don't want to make this into a Saint Bill, because he certainly wasn't a saint. But one of the things that was great about Bill Bauer was that he had his hands and his contacts all across the country with all the bookers. And Bill was kind of a guy that looked out for up and coming comics, at least from when I started. Back in the mid 2007, whenever, and he could call and he could make that call and say, yeah, you should give this guy a chance. And they would do that. It's not quite the same. We don't have anybody with that clout here anymore. And it's not because there aren't people that wouldn't do it. It's just because the business has changed so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, I think, and again, not to plug my book too hard, I'm just going to shill as hard as
plug
I can.
It, yes.
But I mean, one of the things that really became clear to me is, these five guys, I mean, heard it from you right now, whether it was Bill, Alex Cole, I mean, everybody knows Louis Anderson, obviously, and Scott Hansen, and, Jeff Turbino. These guys had so much clout because literally there was no comedy scene here before they started. It's one of those things where, there's people who can come in now who can be a really big help and a really big asset, but they're coming into a system that already exists, right? So, I mean, there's already going to be those relationships and there's already going to be history and there's already going to be bad blood and things like that. These five guys came in, there was nowhere to go see stand-up comedy when they started. I mean, they literally went to this bar called Mickey Finn's in Northeast, which was in the Union building, pardon me. It was in a Union building, and they literally got milk crates and plywood and built a stage and just got up there and started trying to do jokes for all these union guys, all these pipe fitters. And so the fact that they were there from the beginning, I mean, they were that backstory. They were the guys who had the history and the relationships. And so, to your point, John, I mean, I've heard a lot of really good things about all of them, but Bill specifically, I've heard, really, he took it very seriously to try to not just try to, advance his career, but to really try to help the next generation of performers and really give people opportunities. And it sounds like that was really consistent with Bill early on. Like, Bill, I know is, if you go through the book, if you really want some insane drug-fueled debauchery, Bill Bauer is probably the one who brought it in his book. But even before he sobered up and, all these things, it sounds like that was just kind of who he was as a person. I know Stephanie Hodge you mentioned Stephanie Hodge, that she went and performed at Mickey Finn's early on. And it's a rough room, man. It's the late 70s, early 80s. And it's these just kind of roughneck pipe fitter guys who are not necessarily trying to, here you do your jokes. And she said Bill walked her through the door. He stood at the stage to make sure nothing happened. He gave her advice about her set afterwards. So he was very giving. He wanted to help people. But yeah, I mean, in the same breath, like you said, I mean, some of the Bill Bauer stories are just phenomenal. And I mean, you've read the book, John. And I mean, one of the things, you know, especially Ace, since you're not familiar with his backstory, you know, one of the things that I think kind of blows up, and this is how I decided to start the book, was allegedly there's a big fist fight that happened between Bill and Scott Hansen. That was apparently the seed that kind of created this big bang of comedy where everybody kind of started to go their own ways. To this day, nobody can tell me definitively what happened between those two. And unfortunately, I'll never know. Bill Bauer is not with us anymore. And Scott Hansen, I feel like he's given me his side of the story. I would love to hear the other side because, to your point, it sounds like when Bill was upset, he was not going to talk it out with you. He was going to take action. That was it. So,
yeah. Let me ask you this, Patrick, because you wrote a book about the history of comedy in Minnesota. So, like, you had to talk to a bunch of different people. What goes into putting together a book when you're doing historical things like this? Like you said, you're talking about before there was even a comedy club in the Twin Cities area. You know, like how much hours of research and how did you track all these stories down? Obviously in the clubs and talking to the people who've been there, but I mean, still, you got to imagine you had to put a good amount of research into all of it. Like, how does this all come together? Writing a book about the history of something? Or
yeah, man, no, that's a good question. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of one of those things where it almost becomes a telephone game, right? Like, I mean, I talked to a couple people. So I figured out kind of who was that core, that original 5 guys, right? So I knew about Louis and I knew about Scott Hansen and some of these guys. And I'm very fortunate that with the exception of Bill, the other 4 gentlemen are all still alive. They're all still with us. So I had the chance to actually sit down with all of them and, you know, get their stories. But then, you know, you start hearing other names and it kind of branches off, right? So, you know, I talked to this group of guys and then they started talking about, oh, you know, who you should really talk to is, you know, this other group of comedians who came in. And I think one of the things that was really, you know, I was very fortunate in putting this book together was that for all of the, you know, potential differences and fights they had, everybody has really positive memories of this time in their lives, right? Like everybody looks at it like this is a really cool thing that we were a part of and that we started and that we grew together. So they wanted to talk about it. Yeah, there's going to be stories where it's like, you know, stuff happened and they're not happy with this piece or that piece. But for the most part, you know, this really is, hey, look, you know, we did something that didn't exist. So they wanted to talk about it. But to your point, I mean, the research and writing, I was kind of doing a lot of that stuff simultaneously. And I mean, I was doing that for a full year, you know, I mean, going around and sitting down with people. And there was a handful of people I wished I could have talked to that I just couldn't get a hold of for whatever reason. I mean, one of the examples is Dudley Riggs and I were scheduled to sit down and talk. And then he got really sick and unfortunately passed away before we had the chance to. But like he was one who, you know, I would have loved to have heard because Dudley Riggs was somebody who everybody looks at as kind of like a godfather of comedy in Minnesota. But then all of a sudden this new group of kids comes in and they were literally like kids like in their 20s and kind of shake the whole thing up. So like that was one of those things where, okay, well then who's the other group that, you know, you guys kind of had good, bad, and other relationships with? So a lot of it was just, you know, the telephone game of who can you find? And then, you know, there is a lot of, excuse me, I was really fortunate. There's a lot of, you know, articles and things like that. One thing I don't think people realize is, and John, you can back me up if this was your experience, in the 80s in Minnesota, you know, people talk about the music boom out here, right? People talk about First Avenue and they talk about how big of a deal it was. Comedy was massive. It was massive everywhere, but it was massive in Minnesota in the 80s. I mean, they were selling out, you know, every room, every night of the week. It was the hot thing to go to. So there is a lot of articles and stories and flyers and ads and things like that out there because it was such a big deal in the 80s. And, you know, then the 90s came and all of a sudden everything kind of burst and stand-up stopped being cool there for a little while. But, you know, it's funny because once you start digging into it, you find a lot of that stuff that I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that they just, you know, they weren't around for it. You know, you don't realize that Tom Arnold and Roseanne Barr, you know, they met at the Scott Hansen's Comedy Gallery. You know, those two are responsible for bringing a lot of talent out to LA to work on her show. And, you know, like I mentioned, Seinfeld and Leno, you know, they worked the Comedy Gallery clubs before, you know, they were really a big deal. And actually, here's a question. John, you might know this, and Ace, I'm not sure how long you've been in town. Have you guys ever heard of Schindler's?
Oh, yeah. Schindler's Bookstore.
Oh,
yep. So Shinders, for a quick catch up, was basically, I mean, John, I should let you explain it, but from what I understand, and I was here when I first moved here, but not for long, it was a bookstore. It was, you know, comic books and magazines, and they had an adult section, right? So the reason I bring it up is because the first time Jay Leno came here, and this was a story that got cut from the book, but the first time Jay Leno came to town, he went to Shinders, right? And allegedly he went there because he wanted to, you know, he was a car guy. He wanted to read car magazines, and it was a bookstore. While Jay Leno was there, his first time in Minnesota, the local whatever news station, I don't know which one it was, burst in and did a, like, you know, aha, because again, there was like this adult section, and they'd never, you know, this wasn't something that was like, you know, the norm at this point. So they're coming in and asking about all these, you know, racy adult materials. And here's Jay Leno, who's like on the precipice of like becoming a big deal. You know, doesn't have his own show yet, but he's doing like the Letterman show and stuff like that. And he literally snuck out the back door of Shinders because he didn't want to accidentally get caught up in some salacious thing in Minnesota that was going to tank his career.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, you hear these stories, and again, it's stuff like that though, where, you know, that one is insane, and it would have been too funny maybe if a porn shop in Minnesota would have been the reason that Jay Leno's career tanked. But those are the kinds of things, like you said, you know, that were so big, and that, you know, you hear these things, and once you hear that, then it's like, okay, well, who else knew about this, and what else can I find out? So that's my super long-winded answer, Ace, to your question as to how you put this together. It's just trying to get your arms around as much information as you can. And the other thing too is, you know, when you're doing this, and I mentioned this before, I interviewed, I think, 40 people for the book. You got to try to do your best to navigate what really happened and put together all these different kind of versions of the truth. Mm-hmm. And here's the best of what I can decipher what really happened. And, you know, I'm sure there are people who disagree. I know there are people who disagree. I think there's people who probably have a alternate opinion of what really happened. But, you know, when you're trying to get this, you try to get it as close as you can. And I think, you know, even talking to the guys on the cover and some of the other individuals who were a part of the book, you know, I think we really nailed it with this one, which was great, which is really what I was trying to do.
Well, I can say from my perspective, having heard some of the stories from the guys themselves and other people that have been involved, I think you did a fantastic job of sifting through and finding that middle ground of what probably actually did happen.
Yeah, that can't
Thank
be
you.
easy.
No, I appreciate that.
Cannot be easy. Hey, JJ, I see that, and thank you for that. And no, we're not mad at you if you had to give most of your bits to the chick in the bikini. Like,
no, I would have done the same,
to you, sir. Kudos to you.
So. First of all, let me tell everybody, if you're interested in this book, it's really worth it. It's like right now, I think on Amazon there's a sale, not to try to chintz off on your book, but if you want to get it on Kindle, it's only like $9.
Yes.
And
hey man, steal it for all I care. I'm fine with it. You don't got to worry about chintzing off of me.
But it's available on Amazon if you want to get a hard copy of it. It's available at Barnes & Noble, I know, and then there are probably other smaller bookshops if you go to those. And the publisher was the Minnesota Historical Society?
Oh, cool.
Correct. Yep. So if you're in Minnesota, I mean, you can go to the History Center. They've got it there. Like you said, a lot of the different museums or different independent bookstores here carry it, some of the Barnes & Nobles. But I mean, you can go to the Historical Society website. You can go to Amazon. It's available everywhere. So it's the perfect book for your summertime reading.
It really is, and I'll be honest with you. It's a quick read. It really is, because and maybe it is a quicker read for me because I know those people. But
sure.
Having said that, it's still a quick read because it's not dry. There's stuff happening through the whole thing. All right, so let's go. Let's find out how a fella that grows up in Michigan comes to Minneapolis, but before he gets to Minneapolis, he's taken by the world of professional wrestling to the point where he is trained by famous from ROH, Truth Martini. How the heck did this happen, Patrick?
Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. I have never actually had the chance to tell this story in a place with real wrestling fans before. So this has been like a blast from the past thinking about this stuff. So no, I mean, the quick backstory, right? So I want to make sure, I don't want anybody to get this twisted. I was not a good wrestler. I don't want anybody to think that I was like king of the indies in like the late 90s, early 2000s or anything. Like that was not the case. But the reality is so if you guys have you guys ever watched the CM Punk documentary?
Yeah.
So you know his story was essentially him and his friends were backyarders and it became really big, and then they decided, well, what if we get trained? That was kind of my story too. I mean, obviously not to the level of success that CM Punk had. But I mean, essentially what happened was, you know, it was the late 90s and me and my buddies were all in high school. And so we were backyard kids. You know, we had the BWA, the Basement Wrestling Alliance. And
Nice.
Funny because we would just build our own little makeshift ring out of, you know, like carpet padding and stuff like that. But we were pulling 50, 60, 75 kids into my buddy's backyard for these shows.
Oh, wow.
And it was something where it became a real hot ticket. People, they knew the characters and they knew the storylines. You know, half of the Mr. Adams in Michigan's senior class only knew me by my wrestling moniker, which was Solid Gold Billy Ritchie.
Nice.
That was all they would call me. Was Solid Gold. So it was one of those things where we had this following, and I remember it was our senior year in the springtime, and we said, what if we rent a ring? What if we try to do this like a bigger deal? And so we found a guy who, you know, ran some local indies, and we rented the ring for a couple $100 from him, and we found like a skateboard park or a rec center, and we put this show together and we sold it out. We did like 300 people.
Wow.
And again, we're untrained. We're just a bunch of kids who are doing this. And I mean, the place is packed. And the funny thing is the guys who gave us the ring, like they sent a couple of guys and they were indie workers, and they're looking around and they were just like, how did you guys draw 300 people? And it was like a Wednesday. It's not like this was a night or something. They're just like, you guys threw 300 on a Wednesday for this garbage wrestling thing. And, you know, to us, we didn't know any better. We're just like, yeah, you know, that's what we do, you know, just full of our own piss. But anyway, so we get done with that. And these guys talked to us and they said, hey, if you guys ever really want to do this for real, like if you want to train, like we could do this. Like we'd be willing to train you and all that. And so we all kind of sat down and, you know, we were just diehard wrestling guys, obviously. And we said, sure, let's do it. And, you know, I mentioned Truth Martini, but I will here because Truth Martini had only really been in wrestling maybe a year or two at that point. He wasn't deep in the training stuff. The guys who were my real trainers there was a guy, Dave St. Onge, who was a jobber in the 80s for WWF. He did a ton of stuff, but he was Outlaw Bobby Lee, and he, you know, wore like all the Leonard Skinner Confederate flag, everything. And
there's always that guy.
He owned the ring. Like he was like that indie guy. He was kind of our head trainer. And then there was another guy who did a little bit of work, I think, in early TNA. He went by Gutter. That was his name, Gutter. So those were our two main. Actually, Gutter, fun fact about Gutter, he was actually the guy who got Crazy Steve, who's in Impact Wrestling now, into this. He actually started bringing him along and letting him tag with him because he was a student of his.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. So these guys were kind of our main trainers. And so I gave this guy, like I got all my money from my graduation from high school, gave all my graduation money to these guys. And for those of you who are thinking about, you know, if you've seen like obviously there's the WWE PC, but like if you've seen like the Academy of Pro Wrestling in Minneapolis, which is just a beautiful location, you know, they got rings and workout facilities. This was not that. This was in Dave St. Onge's backyard. So we literally had to drive down to like right on the outskirts of Detroit to this guy's house and go in his backyard, and the ring was just set up, and that was where we got trained. That was our school. And you know, it was funny because we, you know, I'll be honest, I mean, I think we did a crash course. We had maybe 10 to 12 weeks of real training. And the idea at that point was like, okay, let's do it. We'll go through the training, and then this summer, like at the end of the summer, before we all go off to college and stuff, we'll do one more big show. And so that was what we did. And you know, it was cool because we did have guys who mentioned Truth Martini. There was guys who came in and helped us and did the training. You know, he was one. Gosh, I don't even know who else was around at this point. Amazing Nate Matson was a name back then. There was a guy named Briar Wellington who was a real big deal. And it's funny because they're like right around the end of my training. This is the fun fact. they started bringing in a couple of their kids who had just started training for real, who were actually trying to do this. And two of those guys, I mentioned this to John, were Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. So those are actually who I just overlapped with. So needless to say, those guys owe me their careers, but that's fine.
Nice.
So that's my quick version. I mean, and I will say this though. I mean, you hear the horror stories about these old, crusty jobbers from the 80s who, just take kids' money and stuff. I have nothing but good things to say about these guys because they taught us the stuff that you're supposed to learn. I mean, we did, a week of nothing but just taking bumps on our backs. And I remember I thought at one point the week when we learned how to run the ropes, I thought I had dislocated my ribs, but I just bruised them. And I mean, they beat us up, but they did take liberties with us. They really wanted us to learn how to do things the right way. And that's what they did. And it was great. And, we did our show. Then a couple of guys kept training and the rest of us all just kind of dicked around. But, we did a couple other things. We became friends with a lot of these guys. So, they drop us on, if there was battle royals and stuff on other indie shows, we knew enough and we would basically just screw around with each other in these, right? I mean, we'd just be sitting there smacking each other around and inevitably we'd go into business for ourselves and try to be the most, the biggest stars of the show, which the other indie guys loved, let me tell you. But, we did that. And then finally the summer after my first year of college, so I would have been 19 years old, I think. That was my kind of swan song because, I'm in college and I'm doing other stuff. But we did a couple of nights back in our hometown. We all came back from college and did a couple of nights of our own shows. And again, I mean, we sold out 2 nights in a row and it was like 300 or 400 people a night. And it became bigger than it should have. That's my honest opinion. It should never have been as big as it was. And it was. And that's kind of my indie wrestling journey, the quick version for you guys. How's that?
My God,
That's
what
awesome. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Going from not being trained, doing backyard wrestling to then that first week in actual training, what were the things that you maybe thought going into the training? You're like, I mean, we've been doing this in the backyard. I think I got this. I'm good at it. And then what are the things that when you got in there and did the training, you're like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. Whoa. Like, what were those shocks in that first week of training? Because you always hear the story of backyard to training, but you never really hear, what was that transition for you and what were you doing right that they were like, well, hey, you're good at this. But then, that first thing where you're like, oh, that hurt so bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, the quick answer to that is literally nothing. We were doing nothing right. That is the answer in the world. I think, we were guys that we understood the character and we understood the kind of psychology of how to get people going. But, oh, no, from an actual wrestling perspective, it was garbage, man. I mean, I remember we got back there and, of course, we're all 18 years old. So we're all thinking we're doing we're ready to start doing top rope stuff. And I'm ready to do, this is right around when WCW is doing their cruiserweight stuff. I'm ready to do top rope planches and stuff like that. And so the first couple of days we're doing lockups. And I'm like, man, did I really just pay these guys? I don't know, however much money I just paid them to do lockups. Is this really what we're doing? And then it was the ropes. And I'm like, all right, so I have to hit the ropes. And that, I still remember, I'm 38 years old. I did this 20 years ago. I still remember the pain of hitting these steel cable ropes over and over and over. The bumping wasn't terrible. The ropes absolutely destroyed me. I remember our head guy, Dave, he wouldn't let me train one day because I came in and I was all bruised down my side. And he goes, how'd you get that? And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, yeah, you're not running the ropes today, man. I'm not dealing with if you get hurt or something like that. So stuff like that. I mean, and, they taught us the basics. We learned your basic skill set. We learned how to, post up for a body slam. So we learned how to take one properly, how to post up for a suplex, how to use, working punches and kicks and stuff like that. I will say, you'll like this. So, I was, not the towering hulk of a person that you see now in front of you. Back then, man, I was the smallest guy of all my friends. I was maybe 125 pounds soaking wet. And I remember we kept messing with these guys and we kept being like, okay, so when are we going to we all would they let us kind of screw around a little bit and we'd all be throwing chops on each other because everybody wanted to do the Ric Flair chops. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were like, when are you guys going to show us how to take a chop? And they're like, there's no trick to taking a chop. You just take the chop. And, we're just pushing them. We're like, nah, it can't be that bad. And then finally, this guy, Dave, who was a big guy, he goes, okay, fine. He's like, if you guys really want to, I'll chop one of you guys. He goes, I guarantee you, if I chop one of you one time, none of the rest of you are going to want to do it. And there was guys who were in the class who were my friends who they were pretty well built and like they probably could have taken it okay. I had a chip on my shoulder. I needed to be the guy. I had to prove something. So here I came just with my bird chest and my brittle bones. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's do this thing. And I remember he put me in the corner. We did the lockup and he pushed me back to the corner and he pushed me back. And he lit me up one time so hard. I thought my chest had collapsed in on itself. I thought this man had somehow managed to squish all of my organs together with his hand. And I just had to lay down in the grass in his backyard for like the next 10 minutes because it hurt so bad. So I think the things I learned were, you hear, and it's a boring answer, but the stuff that's boring is sometimes the most painful. And then the stuff that you think is going to be like, oh, this is all worked. This is all fake. You learn how tough wrestlers really are at every level. That first time that you start taking a couple of real shots, man, I still remember that to this day. And I had the handprint of doom for at least a week after that.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh my God. So let me ask you this: have you ever thought about doing it again, going back home, filling up, and selling out one more time?
Man, I don't think anybody wants to see a bunch of 40-year-old dudes out there trying to slap each other around without having wrestled in 20 years.
But solid gold.
That's not true. Goldberg comes back every couple of years.
You make a good point. I mean, I think it's one of those things where we would all, me and my buddies, we've all got kids and we've all got, there's stuff going on. I think that on one hand, we're like, oh, that'd be really fun. On the other hand, one of us would get hurt. And that was actually, it's funny because the last shows we did, when we went back and we did this in Michigan, we had never had an injury. When we were doing all the stupid backyard garbage, and we were doing the same garbage you see everybody else, right? We're doing trash cans and just all the, ceiling tiles and garbage weapon stuff. Never had an injury. Nobody got hurt, no broken bones, nothing. We did these last two shows and we had 3 guys go to the hospital. And that was when we also realized hey, you know what? Maybe we should stop doing this. Maybe we aren't cut out for this anymore. And I remember it was, we were doing stuff that we were trained, but maybe we weren't quite experienced enough to do. And we were using weapons, but we were so excited that we were hurting each other a little bit too much. And so I think if we went back now, I don't know that I'm coming back. I think if I go to the hospital because I take a power bomb wrong, I dislocate my shoulder sleeping sometimes now. I'm not going to bounce back the next day. They're going to see, my kids are going to watch their dad cry because he took a bad bump into the ropes. I can't have it. I need to let my legacy, I got to go out on top. That's how I look at it.
All right. So having experienced this wrestling and to the extent that you have, and being around some of these guys that trained you that have got a certain reputation in the business and have done some things. And you talked about the psychology. How do you see, because we talked about this before when we were talking, the similarities between comedy and wrestling and how as an art form they sort of kind of play on the same emotions?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you and I talked about this too, John. I mean, you're totally right. It's one of those things where I think, we can talk more about this from a wrestling standpoint. I think obviously just kind of the grind, right? I mean, nobody sees what goes into it on the back end, whether you're, trying to get started in stand up and you're doing open mics for 4 people who don't want to see you, or you're wrestling an indie show for 12 people who don't want to see you. It's the grind is there, putting in the reps is there. I think there has to be a small amount of megalomania to be in either one of those professions. You have to believe, oh no, I'm really good at this. I think to be good, you have to believe in it, right? Even if you're not. But the thing that I always thought was interesting when you talk about the psychology and character development and things like that is, I think that if you're a really good wrestler, just like if you're a good stand-up comic, you have the ability to feel out the crowd and react, right? Like you're not so frozen in, here's the role I'm going to play, and here's the jokes I'm going to tell, and here's how this match is going to go. Like you're able to, you can pivot. If you're really good, you know how to pivot and you know how to kind of change course. And that's one thing that, I think is still true today. I mean, I think that's why, really good comics can go with the flow. They can go into a room and they can have a polished set, or they can get up there and, sometimes things go sideways, but they can still give you a solid show. They don't get shaken. Same thing with wrestlers. There's nights that the crowd's going to be hot no matter what. There's nights that crowd is going to dump on you no matter what you try to do. And you got to be willing to pivot. You can't be so married to the script and the storyline that was like, well, if they don't like it, then I guess I just eat it for tonight. I think that's the mark of a good wrestler, just like a mark of a good stand-up.
So you've seen a lot of stand-up over the course of your writing career. Have you ever gone and watched any of the former pro wrestlers do their shows? And I hesitate to call them stand-up shows because it's not really stand-up. It's more storytelling. But I'm curious if you've seen any of those guys.
I haven't seen them live. I've watched some of the, I've seen, I saw Mick Foley, did a special that was on the network where he kind of did his storytelling show. I've seen some, I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw some of Jake Roberts' kind of storytelling show. But I haven't seen, I know, Dolph Ziggler does a lot. I know a lot of guys are. I know Rob Van Dam's done stand-up. I've never seen any of these guys do it. I got to think, and again, I could be dead wrong, and maybe somebody in the comments can tell me who's actually seen it. I feel like there's a connection. If you're good on the mic in wrestling, I feel like you're going to be a good stand-up comic. I feel like similarly, if you're a really good stand-up comic, you probably can pick up the mic work and the character development piece of wrestling very well. I think if you get guys who they weren't good, they just weren't good, mic guys, and they weren't great wrestlers, they're not going to be great stand-ups. Nobody wants to hear a story. You Eric Goldberg for so long before you're just like, hey, this story sucks. I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, I beat this guy, and then I beat this guy, and then I beat this guy, and then I beat.
So basically, you're saying Nikolai Volkov, we would not have wanted to see his stand-up.
I would have gone to a Nikolai Volkov anything show. If he would have done music, I would have been there. I would have been there to see him juggle. I don't care. If Nikolai Volkov was doing it, I would have done it.
Oh my god!
There's a few of those guys. I told you the story, JR, where I watched Larry Henning do a podcast at Waterloo one year, and the entire hour and a half, he was just cracking jokes, and he was just nailing it. The dude was hilarious, and this is a year or two before he passed away. You know what I mean? It's dude, I would watch this guy for a half hour on a microphone just talking. I've been to Foley's. And I ran sound once for Jake Roberts on his comedy thing. And they were good. Foley's was really good. When I saw him, he was a few years in on that same thing. So he was really dialed in. So it was good. Most of it, it's you could watch it on YouTube and probably same show, but it was good. Jake was cool, but when I did that, he was kind of just getting going. It was probably first year you started doing comedy shows.
Okay.
And it was just cool because it's Jake, he's got that whole and I had a smoke with him before the show, and that was kind of freaky because it was just hey man, you're doing really good. DDP fixed you up. Yeah, man. I can't drive though. I don't trust myself. I'll drive to that shit right now if I had a car. And I'm just all right, bro. Stay clean. But
so Ace, here's a question for you, because you see more of these than I have. These guys, because I know most of the time they're marketed as storyteller shows, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's storyteller stuff. Do any of these guys, or have you seen these guys try to kind of go outside of that, where they're actually trying to do jokes, they're doing material, or are they still sticking with what they know, which is this is wrestling stuff, right?
So the legends are definitely just sticking to their stories, and they're playing to their fan base. I know Ziggler wasn't. I know Ziggler, he probably had some bits about that business, but he legit, I guess, is just trying to be a comic as well on the side. There's a few people though that, the legends of Roberts didn't really do. I mean, they throw little comments in that are just funny, that are general, but it all still is intertwined between these stories. The story of how he became Jake the Snake with Vince, the story of how Macho Man made this cobra bite him in the locker room before he actually bit Macho in the ring, and then how Jake beat the crap out of the cobra after that, so he made sure it bit Macho nice and good. And I'll give him credit; he did a great Macho Man voice during that bit. Like he had Macho's voice down, and he was doing the whole thing. It was great, but they really just stayed true. Like Foley does the whole Hell in the Cell stuff. He does the whole getting put through the table, and how his wife was more worried about Edge instead of him when the thing was on fire, like stuff like that. So you haven't really seen any of these come out, and they're just doing their thing.
Like that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, there's a few that I think could.
Okay.
I know if you watch the Piper A&E biography, he actually hired a comedian to help him go through stuff. I don't know that he didn't just sweeten up his lines, etc. But I know Hacksaw Jim Duggan has been out. I know Ace's favorite Honky Tonk Man has been out. For me, it's always hard because I love them, but I also feel like, hey, they're taking away some stage time. Hey, maybe this is your next book.
Especially if it's Honky, dude. Like if he's taking your stage time, JR, you let me know. I'll
believe me. I'll hit him with a guitar.
I hate that guy.
Man. Well, I feel like at least if the guys, like you said, if the legends are at least just telling stories, that's good, right? I feel like it's when these guys try to like move away from it, they always get themselves in trouble. That's when you have the Ultimate Warrior talking about like queer and don't make the world work. It's like, I mean, I'm not one of these guys to tell basketball players just to shut up and dribble. I think that's not cool. You use your platform. But guys, maybe just stick to wrestling if you're a wrestler. Like maybe just talk about what you know and don't try to go too far down the path. Next thing you know, you're Val Venus dropping QAnon theories and whatever.
Right.
Guys, stay in your lane.
Yeah, Austin Aries he did that big time this last year. Where he went down there. But then you look at people who are like I could see Ziggler being good. I haven't seen him, but I could see him being good at it. Mm-hmm. Someone like The Miz is someone who I think could probably get on stage and tell some jokes, and if he really puts some time and work, and he has a presence. Renee Young, even though she's not a wrestler but comes from that world, is someone who I could think can grab a mic and go and do that. There's some guys though there, like Brody Lee could have maybe been somebody from watching all his backstage stuff. He was just hilarious. He's someone that he probably would have felt very comfortable just talking on a microphone and making people laugh. But yeah, you do see some of these guys who come out and it's just like, you see so John Mayer's always been a polarizing thing for me with that. Like, cause I've never seen his comedy, but I've always heard that like, he's really takes it serious. And it's like, well, how serious is he taking? You know what I mean? Like the guy is one of the best guitarists in the world. But like, how good's his comedy? Because I haven't seen it. But it's
let's see him work the Friendly Buffalo up in Big Lake. He can't pull that shit off.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like with these legends, like they can't probably do that. Like they could if they want, but they have to still tell those stories because who's going to buy the tickets to that? It's going to be wrestling fans, not comedy fans.
Patrick,
maybe some, but.
Yes.
Patrick, I know you have a young child that you need to take care of. Are you still good, or do you need to bug out?
No, I got a couple more minutes for you guys. This is great.
Perfect. So, do you? I mentioned maybe you should write a book about wrestlers doing comedy. Do you have another book in mind? Do you have? I know you're very busy with the MinnesotaComedy.com webpage. By the way, if you want to find out anything about Minnesota comedy. That's where you want to go. He does stories about virtually everybody in the scene, even your fat old buddy here, and it's all amazing stuff. It's all stuff that's coming up, and it's all stuff that's very, very relevant.
Thank you. Yes, mncomedy.com, and like you said, I mean, City Pages when they went under, and then Growler went under. There was really nowhere left to cover comedy. So I said, well, there's a lot of really great comics who need that. Who I think could use and benefit from that platform. And, just as a fan, I like talking about comedy. Wrestling and comedy are my two favorite things to talk about, so it made sense. Yeah, MN Comedy is where to do it. To answer your question, there's definitely some discussion, about, maybe it's the history of Acme Comedy Company. Maybe it's, like you said, just kind of the next, like, how did things come back after that, like, kind of first period? So we've had some talks about it, and, I'm hoping maybe in the next year we'll get something going here. But Yeah, I know that a lot of people like yourself, John, have told me, they're like, hey, there's so much more that happened next and things like that. And yeah, like I definitely think that some of the clubs out here that kind of became established after that early 90s period would be really interesting to explore too. So I guess my official answer is maybe.
Nice. I like it. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you.
By the way, if you're interested in his book, and again, you can get it on Amazon right now on Kindle for $9. Funny thing about Minnesota, $9 on Kindle. If you want to get a hard copy, you can get it from Amazon. You can get it from Barnes and Noble, and you can get it probably at your local bookstore.
I'm saying the Kindle version is cheaper than your Peacock premium subscription. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Which, let me tell you, if you aren't doing, I don't know if you guys are, like, I finally canceled my Peacock for the time being because I just couldn't do the commercials with the network, man. I couldn't do it. So hey, there's no commercials on top of this. So I'm crushing them every step of the way.
Here's another interesting little fun fact for you. The book, if you buy it on Kindle, is text-to-speech enabled, which means if you've got an Alexa, you can say, Alexa, please read Funny Thing About Minnesota, and she does it.
Really?
Oh, baby, it's sweet.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you, it is really nice because I do that a lot because it offers me the opportunity to do other things while I'm listening to the book versus sitting and holding them. Not that I don't like reading, but if somebody will tell me the story, I'll listen to it.
How insanely self-indulgent would it be of me if I just sat around listening to my own book during the day?
Well,
I mean, the most Kanye West thing in the world, just listening to my own music at home.
It would be worth. You mean like you're just patting yourself on the back, but it's good. We need to do
that. That was a great one. That was a good story. Well told, Alexa. Well told.
You don't have to worry about anything until you start trying to start your own church like him. Then worry. Then worry a little bit. You're the mountainsides with a choir for no reason.
JJ says, I don't know if you're looking at. We've got a couple of comments. What JJ says, I asked Siri why I'm horrible with women. She replied, "This is Alexa."
Nice.
So,
I
go ahead.
I need to get a hard copy though, and I want one signed. So
hey, I can make that happen. I can certainly do that. I might know a guy. So I was gonna say I tried to put the link here in the comments.
There you go.
They deleted it because the man doesn't like it. But
I think we'll get it here. Hold on. You go ahead and keep talking, Ace. I'll go hunt it down.
Sure.
So
no, I'd love to, man. Absolutely. I mean, I guess I'll say this. I mean, I don't know how many people are really that excited to get my signature, but if you want an autograph copy, go to mncomedy.com. There's a contact me on there. Shoot me a note. We'll figure it out. I'll get it done. I'll write whatever you like, and Alexa won't even be able to decipher my handwriting, so it'll be just private between us. There you go.
Nice. Yeah, I need that. I need to put it next to my signed cookbook from Renee Young. So,
do you have the Renee Young cookbook?
I do. I haven't really read it or anything. I was
gonna say you can do you're gonna start doing the thing where you just go through every week on the show. You should do another recipe. You can do your own.
That's actually nice. Yeah.
Corner. There you go.
That's not a bad idea. It'd be a nice way to try to get her finally on the show too. Hey, come on, I'm cooking your stuff. Just do it. I'm just, me and JR coming from that radio background, so broadcasting's always been a thing. And like, she's just so top notch from the minute I saw her on WWE programming. It was like, wow, this girl knows what she's doing. She is a pro. And I've just been a fan ever since. So I was like, well, yeah, she's got a cookbook. I don't even really cook that much, but I'll buy it.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like she's going to be, whatever she does next, I feel like it's going to be outside of wrestling. I think she's got major mainstream broadcasts in her future, whatever she decides to do. But no, she's great.
Yeah, definitely. Do you still try to watch wrestling? Do you catch any indie shows, like all that?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Love Die Hard, man. No, I mean, I know you guys were at the first wrestling show, which I couldn't get to a week or so ago over at the Temple when they had Steiner and they had Rhino there. And but no, I mean, I try to get to a couple of first shows a year. I actually went to, fun fact, they did a show, First Wrestling did at the Rosedale Mall, which is not far from, and they did it. It was literally a week before the pandemic shut everything down. Mm-hmm. And actually, that was the last show I've been to. And that was when, they had Orange Cassidy, Danhausen was there, and it was awesome. And those guys were First Wrestling in and of itself, man. I mean, I don't want to cheap plug them too much because, I don't know, I don't want to sound too desperate, but like, they put on such a solid show, and I mean, their momentum was going so hot before the pandemic, and they've bounced back. Like, they are right back to where they were. It's pretty impressive. But, oh, yeah, man, whether it's the indies, I mean, I'm still, I've talked to you guys a little bit over, just email and stuff. I mean, I'll keep up on what's going on with the E here through just kind of checking stuff. And if there's a big match I might want to watch, I'll check it out. Still watch AEW, not every week, but I try to at least catch it on like DVR. And then I've become my pandemic. I will say my pandemic holder was I became a big GCW guy during the pandemic. So I started buying all the GCW shows. Yep. All the COVID shows.
Yeah. So JR and I are as of right now planning on going to Chicago Labor Day for All Out, as well as catching the Saturday night GCW show. Because they're running 2 shows down there that weekend. You should also, and if you're around, you should come. JR, what was it? August 15th.
August 15th. You just got the email from Bauhaus that
Blood, Sweat, and
Beers is on August 15th. We already got our tickets. But that's
man, I'd love to come check it out with you guys for sure.
Well, awesome. if you show up, I will certainly gladly shake your hand. A man that sold out wrestling shows, I will shake your hand, buy you a beer, and we'll get you a 2 Count T-shirt as well.
Thank you. Let me tell you, if you sell out the American Legion Hall in Rochester, Michigan, you're a wrestling legend. So I can appreciate that. So thank you for respecting my contributions to the business. I'm glad you see the importance that I brought to the table.
We know history when we see it. By the way, JJ, it's at Bauhaus Brewery, August 15th. The tickets are on sale now, and I'm telling you, they sold it out the last 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago that we went, Ace. And I'm telling you, outside, God willing, the weather is good. I mean, it's covered, but it's so much nicer if the weather is good because they have fantastic beers over there, and it is just so much fun. And the tickets
I won't be able to drink any of the beers this year, though. That's going to be a bummer.
Well, I'll take yours.
There you go. It's a really nice place, too. Like that patio and like the train tracks, right? Like, it was just a great setting for an outdoor wrestling show. So, and you got to expect there's going to be some big names. I mean, they just announced Sunny Kiss just got announced for the Pride Fest show that they got coming up in a few weeks. And they're going to start putting that card together. So, I mean, it'll be really good. I'm excited to be at that show.
Definitely. No, I think, and I mean, that's so cool. I mean, I guess, obviously they haven't announced it, but I got to assume that Moxley Nick Gage match is going to happen when you guys are there in Chicago. I got to assume, and that's going to be bonkers. That's going to be the craziest match ever.
Yeah, I figured that's a chance, and then I kind of figured the way they're booking Omega right now that we're going to see the comeback of Cassidy might actually become champion at All Out. That would be insane
because they really built him up. If they put the belt on him, I'd lose it.
Right? Because they built him up at Double or Nothing to be like, you're going to get another shot where you'll win solo.
You think they'll give him the big belt, though? I mean, I feel like maybe TV champ, if they do it with Miro, TNT championship. Right. But, like, I don't know, man. You think they'll put the big belt on him? It feels like Tony Khan and those guys are so wrapped up in the old school mentality of, like, the man with the belt is, like, upper echelon, the man. I don't know. Yeah. You think they put it on a comedy guy?
I think because he just probably outsells everybody in merch and toys right now.
That's true.
And the kids love him. So I think he's got that overall appeal that even if he doesn't hold it long, you got to think at one big show, you give him at least a couple months with that title. The one show payoff when he wins it. Yeah. That show will always be a show everyone will remember.
And I also kind of feel like they're going to leave that TNT belt on Miro for a while.
I agree with you. Yeah. Yep. I agree with you. I mean, I think that, it'll be, I'm really curious to see, and again, I know I'm totally just jumping into your guys' stuff, but like, I don't know, man, are you guys into the Miro thing yet? Like, I'm not invested in him yet. I know he's got the belt. I know he's on this winning streak. I'm not that into it. So maybe if they keep the belt on him long enough, I'll get invested, but I'm not there yet. I don't know.
I got into it with him and Archer. Like, I was into that because it was just like, these are two big dudes going at. I do like that we're seeing what he should have been when he was still in WWE.
I agree with you. Yep.
Like, this is what he should have been there.
I can't wait. I can't wait till his wife gets there.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. The people get lost in the shuffle at AEW, though, I think. and they have so many people and they try to shuffle them around so much in feuds that's my one big gripe is I want a little bit of a longer storyline for a lot of their major feuds, and we haven't gotten that yet. So
I'm with you, and I'm wondering if maybe when they go back to fans, maybe that's what they're waiting on a little bit, because like I think we're all waiting for like when is Adam Page getting in the Omega story? Like it has to happen at some point because there's nobody. Like you said, maybe they can put the belt on Orange Cassidy. Maybe they can do some little stuff. There's no like the guy right now. There's no collision course. I feel like in AEW right now.
Yeah, and they really did set Page up as like he was gonna be that guy when they first started. You know what I mean? Like they really built him up for the Jericho stuff. You knew Jericho was gonna hold it, but it was like, okay, but he's gonna get his time with that title eventually.
Oh yeah.
I know you didn't watch Being the Elite this week because it's turned into sort of a less than attractive show, but they did have a sequence where Hangman was with the Dark Order and staring at the AEW belt. So,
okay,
I think you're right. I think something will come up sooner than later.
Yeah, but now that's going to be a bonkers weekend of wrestling. So now I am very envious of you guys being there for that because I think, I feel like regardless of what AEW tries to tell you, that's their original show. That's what we're all always look at as like the benchmark of AEW. Plus, you're gonna have that big GCW. Like that's gonna be a wild wrestling weekend, man. That's gonna be weekend of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We got a lot of other friends that are kind of scattered throughout the states that are all planning to be there that weekend. So we'll get to see a lot of cool people. And you're right with GCW though. They've been doing and Nick Gage has really cemented them on the map now that the documentary came out. I mean, his stuff with Cardona right now is great.
Insane. Who thought? I gotta admit, like, I'm not the Matt Cardona. I mean, I'm sure he listens to the show, so he can hear this. But like, I really thought when Matt Cardona left WWE, I was like, okay, there's some guys who leave and they become incredible, and then there's EC3. There's the guys like that who it just doesn't happen. Like they get some buzz, but it just doesn't happen. I was like, they're never gonna find something that's gonna make me invest myself in Zack Ryder. It's never gonna happen, and he did it. Like he found it. I am like, I have to see Gage Cardona. I have to see it. What he's done is in my opinion the coolest thing that has happened in wrestling this year. I think that storyline is the coolest thing going right now.
Yeah, it's you know what I love too is I remember seeing Gage be like, oh, what a guy named Cardona wants to ride. I don't know who that is, and then someone had to be like, yeah, Zack Ryder. Oh yeah, I'll love to wrestle Zack Ryder. Like then he really, and that's the thing. Like Nick Gage is he's another guy that it's like, I just want to be around him and be like, dude, I just want to talk to you, man. Like you're such an interesting human being, and the story of your life is, I mean, no one else has lived that story. That it's like, I feel
like meeting Nick Gage would be like meeting New Jack, R.I.P. I met Jack, I think I've met him twice, and it was one of those ones, it felt so cool because it's like, this is like an icon and he has these crazy stories. There's not a lot of people that I will listen, especially wrestlers, because it's like, it's a work and it's their character. I was intimidated to be around New Jack. I genuinely like, I don't know what this man is capable of. I feel like that's how I'd feel with Nick Gage. I bet he'd be cool. I bet it'd be awesome to meet him. I feel like there'd be a little bit of me that's like, this dude will literally beat my ass for real if I say the wrong thing to him. Like he might do it.
Yeah, it's insane because I do remember having those feelings of if I ever met New Jack, I feel like if I say the wrong thing about the business, he will kill me, literally, because he's stabbed people. So it was like, man, I don't know if I'd ever want to meet New Jack. I'd always tell JR about this. Him and Balls Mahoney did a shoot interview, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it was the most.
That one where like Balls tries to, or somebody tries to stab somebody outside, or
what? Like New Jack tried to bring in a machete. And
that's
like
what it was.
Some other stuff, and they had to like take it from him. And like, I mean, they like Balls was like, dude, he's gonna kill me. Like he's literally, this isn't a joke. And like, I've never watched him more just intense, stress filled. Like he might actually kill him. Like there was moments where it's like, oh my god, and that was just New Jack though. But then there's people who are like, oh, but he was the nicest guy, great to the fans, and it's like, I don't doubt it, but shoot, you meet that guy mad, it's like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I remember, so it's funny, when I wrote for City Pages, the other thing I got to do was I also got to interview wrestlers if they would come. So like, I tried to, and it was usually if it was somebody who was like a bigger name or something. And I remember New Jack was coming to it was called Mill City Nights downtown. They did a couple of indie shows there. So I interviewed New Jack ahead of time, and I asked him, I said, hey man, like at this point in your career, like are people scared to like wrestle with you? Like are people scared to get in the ring because they're afraid what you're going to do? And he got real quiet and he just goes, he goes, as long as they listen, everything's fine. And I just sat there and we both sat there in silence. And I said, what if they don't listen? He goes, that's when people get hurt for real. And I was like, well, okay, next question. And then I go to the show, and I don't know if you guys remember this. Mill City Nights it was like a concert venue, and it had a balcony. And I remember I was sitting in the balcony, and I don't remember what match is going on. I'm watching, and all of a sudden I turn, and New Jack is just there next to me by himself in the cut up Master P t-shirt and like the camo bandana, and he just looks at me and he goes, and then he walked away. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in a wrestling show. I was like, I don't know what New Jack's going to do to me next. So that's my New Jack story for you guys.
That's crazy. Have you, Patrick, are you familiar with any promoters, wrestling promoters from the area? Are you familiar with a guy named Dale Gagne?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, a Gagne in it, then I assume he's part of that, the Gagne family. I don't think I'm familiar with him, though.
No, he's actually not. He just tried to use
Oh, really? I would use that like I was if I was him, but yeah.
Oh, he tried. He would tell everybody he was like a cousin through marriage, but I don't think it was ever true. I just remember City Pages did a thing with him once, and I read it because I knew him. He had done some stuff in Rochester, so when you said you did some stuff with them and wrestlers, I was curious if maybe that was you, because he's definitely a guy. You mentioned like CM Punk earlier. Like he was the guy that brought CM Punk and Colt Cabana to Minnesota when they were just starting out. Like some of their first matches on the road were in Minnesota because of him. And he also got Justin Roberts his start and eventually helped him get his way into WWE for ring announcing.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
But he's also got like a lot of other stuff where love the guy to death, but he's a wrestling promoter. So full of shit and kind of a snake in the grass at times. But but that's how they all are. They're interesting characters. Like you guys were talking earlier about, even bookers for comedy shows and promoters for wrestling, I mean, are generally the same kind of people.
Yeah. I think I mean, obviously there's good guys. I mean, if you ever meet Eric Cannon, who books first, nicest guy in the world, great guy. I have nothing but good things to say. But yes, I mean, even in my limited experience in the days dealing with wrestling bookers, oh man, there was some trash. There was some they were just grimy and like you just get a feeling from some of them where you're like, I don't feel like you and I should be seen together. It's not the vibe.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's an interesting. It's a carny business though. It came from the carnies. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Just like stand-up comedy, right, John?
Yep, absolutely. they're one and the same. And when you talk about Dale, Ace, when you talk about Dale Gagne bringing Punk and Colt into Minnesota to do stuff when they're young, that goes back to Patrick's book about funny thing about Minnesota, because Scott Hansen was doing that same thing with these comics, bringing them in as they were ascending. It's in it, and that part of it is just so similar. It's
and even when you go back to Vern, I mean, he started the careers of some of the biggest names that ended up happening in professional wrestling. So it's like Minnesota definitely is a stomping ground. Even for musicians, there's a lot of really great musicians that have all came out of this state.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, I hate to cut it short, but I hear screaming happening, so I'm going to let you go. But no, hey, I just want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. This is the coolest show. I'm so glad I found it. I am a super fan. I'm a 2 Count super fan. So no, I hope that maybe I can come back and chat with you guys again. Hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime, Patrick. And I'll talk with you afterwards. But thank you so much. One more time. Funny thing about Minnesota, hold that book up. You can get it right.
Funny thing about Minnesota, available on Amazon, at the Minnesota Historical Society, at your local bookstore, Kindle, steal it. I don't care. Just get it.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Patrick Strait. We appreciate it very, very much. Take care, my friend.
Have a good one, man.
And so that was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did.
Yeah, man, that's a cool dude right there.
He's very cool, and he's very. I mean, and there's still more questions to ask. I want to. New Jack is a big name, but I wonder who the biggest name that he.
Yeah, I hope he can I hope he gets a ticket to the show at the Bauhaus Brewery.
I do
That'd
too.
Be cool.
I do too.
Cool
I'd love to say
Everybody
hello.
Everybody should get tickets and join us.
And absolutely. And first of all, where is it? I did put a link up there for his book in the chat. So if you want to scroll up, you can find it on Amazon. And I think I might. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to track down that Bauhaus tickets, because here's the thing, guys. I know it'll go fast.
Well, so here's the deal. You know what I realized though? I don't think they actually like that. Those emails we got were because we were at the last one, so I think we got those before they've actually gone on sale to the rest of the public.
Oh,
because when you sent, well, first of all, I got the email like you got, and then I got your email that you sent to me, and at that time, I didn't see on their like social media that they were pushing tickets yet for it.
Oh,
so I feel like we got it like maybe a day early. Maybe that's something they're gonna do tomorrow. I don't know. I'm gonna look right now. I'm now curious.
Yeah,
so
absolutely look, because
they did just announce Warhorse for the Pride show. So
nice.
And
yeah, I mean that's so there. I believe it was.
They have not announced that the Brewhouse stuff is for sale yet on their Facebook. So
I think
so they're coming on sale soon. Everybody,
I think probably what happened. He. JJ, it's a book, and I don't think Vern's mentioned in it, but it's awesome about comedy. Scott Hansen, all that. Well, you were listening. And I literally read. I had Alexa read most of it to me today.
Nice.
And it's really fun. Oh my gosh. So. Let's what? Well, gosh, I'm just all befuddled. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Bauhaus was the ones that put it out. First did not. It was Bauhaus as the venue. So maybe that's the difference.
Well, that or I really do think they gave everybody who was there last time the first opportunity at tickets. That might be. They'll probably launch it tomorrow.
That might
be. If that's the case, hey man, very very cool on First Wrestling and Bauhaus's part, because obviously that's a big show. Like when we went to it last time, like they sell out, it seems like, and it's always a great crowd. It's a great stacked card. So, like it's a big show, and they didn't have it last year. So
yeah, Rowdy just bought an Arcade Bro shirt. Nice.
Hell yeah.
No, it only sent once here.
Yeah, I only see it once.
Unless you bought 3 shirts.
Twitch has been goofy though. Twitch
is very goofy. Very.
I don't know why it didn't have me on screen earlier. And then, like, when you guys said I was good, I still wasn't popping back on my Twitch stream.
Oh, really? Well, there was a delay.
It was just I let it sit for a few minutes, though, and I never came back. It just had my name. That's why I left again.
Oh.
That was super weird. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's a busy night, apparently. Busy
It could be.
Night,
it could be. Apparently. Busy night on Twitch. There's so much going on. So first of all, let's talk about. Did you watch Hell in a Cell, Ace?
Yes, let's get into it.
I absolutely loved the Bayley Bianca match.
Okay, I will admit. So the U.S. Open was on as well. And I was pretty invested, and like it didn't end until about 7:15. So I did miss the first portion of that match, but what I did catch was great.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I am still such a huge heel Bayley fan that I can't believe it. So that's good. The Cesaro, I think that was the next match, Cesaro and Rollins.
Yeah, I think you're right. Cesaro versus Rollins. I mean, that's just, again, two great work. I mean, I'd love to see Cesaro moving up to like some sort of title picture.
Let's put it this way. I loved the match. I hated the ending.
Remind me of the ending.
Surprise roll up.
Okay, yeah.
And
Rollins went over, right?
Rollins wins as a surprise roll up.
That just means they're not done. These guys are going to feud at.
I know, but the
payoff will be SummerSlam.
That's the whole thing to me. Is it lends me to the point of what in the hell are they do? Do they? And again, it goes back to things that I've said many times. Maybe they're because I'm my age and I have my mentality about what I like to see in wrestling and the stories. Maybe they're still writing stuff for 10-year-olds. Because 10-year-olds don't give a shit that they see the same thing over and over and over again.
I think there's a few things. I think they're just stale and repeating, and it is what it is. B, I think there's a lot of holdup. We've been saying this the whole pandemic, but I feel there has also been some sense of holdback on the actual product for when the fans come back. I definitely do feel they kind of went stale and kind of didn't mind it because they don't want to do a whole lot of big shit because there ain't no fans in the seats yet, and they want to save it all for when fans are back in the seat and they're making money at Gates and on pay-per-view and Peacock. And then 3, we're in this awkward stage of we just kind of got out of Mania a couple months ago, and now we're already just one pay-per-view now away from the summer's biggest party, which is now being treated like SummerSlam. They actually said they're putting in WrestleMania treatment to SummerSlam this year since they still couldn't kind of do Mania like they wanted, because this one will be full capacity. Rumor is it's on pace to sell out. And they're going to be bringing big names in. We've already heard Brock Lesnar may be back for this. We've already heard Becky Lynch may be making a return either right before or for it. We've already heard that there's talk of Cena coming back and working this thing. So I even saw Cena did an interview promoting, is it Suicide Squad, I think, that he's in that's about to come out, maybe, or some other movie. And the lady even asked, she was like, so any vacation plans coming up? Maybe around this time in August in Las Vegas? And he was just like, oh, well, I mean, like, he kind of didn't get him. And she's like, yeah, because, there's a thing called SummerSlam there. And then he was like, Fast 9. That's what he's promoting. Yep. And he was kind of like, I see what you did there. And then gave that whole, there's just a lot of going on right now. And, I don't know what's going to be happening come that time. It's like, bullshit, bro. Like, everybody knows you're talking to them right now. So, and you need to do something to better your image since the China fiasco. So why not come back and play that baby face role? Because it does sound like it's going to be him and Reigns.
Yeah.
If he comes back. So, and to be honest, I'm not mad at it. I've never thought I would say this, JR, but I miss a little John Cena in my life, a little John Cena in the ring.
Yeah, he brings some excitement that is lacking currently.
Well, the thing with him too is it's like he does love that part of his life, that part of the business. He loves to perform. So it's like, yes, he's going off and doing what he's doing, but he'll always be one of those guys that like, well, wrestling's my love though. It's where I made my name. So it's like, I'm down to see it. Like when he's 50, don't come back. Don't pull a Sting. But dude, you're still in shape. You're still, jacked. You can still go. Like, come back and do some stuff. Like, he's a guy that I would figure will have an actual retirement match when he's officially done.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, before we go to any further matches, word is that USA and Universal NBC are pissed that the WWE pulled Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio's Hell in a Cell match and put it on Friday Night SmackDown for free.
What's funny though is in the same thing, Fox is reportedly not happy with them either, and I don't remember exactly what the reasoning was, but at this point, it sounds like WWE's really just doing the struggle of trying to make both of these sides. They're like the middleman in this like divorce, and they trying to keep the mom and dad happy.
Yeah,
and it's just not working. It makes sense why they did it. It really does. Like, ratings have been going down. you want this big push onto the Peacock network, and there's people who are hardcore fans that at this moment are just not doing it.
Yeah.
So what better way than to try to get some more casual buys onto the network or the Peacock network than, hey, let's, right before we do the big pay-per-view, let's give them a teaser. Let's give them a taste. You know what it is? It's just...
Tampa Terry, I'll tell you what.
Terry.
No, it's all capitalism, baby. It's all capitalism.
So, it's just funny. Like it's one of those things where it comes down to Vince wants money, and now he's put him in a position where good luck making both of them happy. And we said that when they announced they were signing a deal with Fox. It's like, oh, that's going to go over great. They have another major deal with NBC. Like, but obviously we've also talked about how many times has WWE jumped networks. They've been on USA, they've been on UPN, they've been on Fox, they've been on
the Nashville
TNN,
network.
TNN.
You remember? Way back when.
Yep. So like they obviously they're gonna go where the money is.
Yeah.
And now they're like, we got the best of both worlds. We got both major networks. And the smart thing behind that is, again, you do have both major networks. So you got NBC who's showing what do they do? Monday Night Football now?
Is NBC Monday night?
They do They do Sunday night.
They do Sunday night.
So you got Sunday Night Football, which you're on their network, you're on their Peacock thing. You're on a sister station. They're gonna throw in
UPN, right? Correct.
Yep. We said that UPN, and then on the Fox end, look at how much promotion they got during NFL games when they signed that deal.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
You couldn't watch an NFL game without seeing at least 2-3 times throughout the game make sure you tune in Friday night for another SmackDown Live. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, now you're hitting a whole new audience of guys who love action and sports, but probably sit there and be like, wrestling's fake, stupid.
No worries, man.
No, you're good, Tampa Terry. It's all good, Tampa Terry. Light. Why are you light though?
I like to call him Double TL. Double TL.
Double TL.
Double TL. That's
but
it.
It's man. It's I don't know. It's again. I've already said this too, but like networks aside, I think the one thing that will make WWE up their game, well, two things, and one we'll see, is fans back in the arena, because again, they can't force it. You know what I mean? Like you said, people are, when they're paying for tickets, are going to be audibly and visibly loud enough that they're going to show like, hey man, we've seen Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre for the last 8 weeks. No one wants to see, because you've seen it happen where boring, or just boos, because it's not that they're doing anything wrong in the ring. It's just the fans are like, yo, we have seen this a million times. It's time to do something new. So what's going to happen in a few weeks when they're back on the road and don't have just crowd noise piped in to rely on to tell the story they want to tell?
Well, and that's the thing. And we talked about this before. When they do have fans, what I wonder is, are they going to try to... JJ, thanks for coming, man. We appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it, man.
For sure.
We are JJ. By the way, we are going to do a trivia, late night trivia at 9:00 on Friday this week. So if you want to play some trivia again, we'd love to have you at 9:00 on Friday night. And we're gonna Ace and I were talking about maybe making things a little bit different, so it's easier. Maybe let people know ahead of time what it is that we're going to be doing question wise. So
yeah, and then if you guys in the chat room have any ideas, like we were throwing ideas of maybe doing like a Rock trivia or Attitude Era or WCW or Jericho trivia or Hogan, like switch it up so it's just a little bit more. One of our runner-up prizes this next time around, though. Look at this little Colt Boom Cabana little plush doll. We're gonna
Colt Cabana plush doll. Jesus, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna give that as one of our prizes on this next round of trivia. So join us for that on Friday.
That'll be good. That will be good. But anyway, 9:00 Friday, and yeah, we'll have at least one Vern question. There's always got to be at least one.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But we might make it hard. We might make it, what was the name of the old folks' home that He killed that dude. I don't even know that. I'd have to look it up.
I wish I had an Ultimate Warrior wrestler buddy to give away. If I had one of those in good condition, it would probably not be used as a prize at this point. Those things are hard to track down, man.
They're hard to try that. So you had, so there were there 3 or 4?
Hogan, Warrior, DiBiase. There might have been
and Jake
one.
the Snake.
Maybe Jake. Yeah, I was gonna say Jake. Yeah, those were the 4.
Yeah, that's what I.
Wait,
I
there
thought.
might have been more though. For some reason, I want to say maybe the Big Boss Man have one?
He might have, but I don't think he was with the first wave. Dead wrestler trivia, shit, dude. Well, it wouldn't be fun. I mean, it would be fun.
It'd be interesting, I guess.
It'd be interesting. This is interesting too. I somehow, we could do a SummerSlam Royal Rumble kind of thing.
We can throw Survivor Series in there, and we can do just the Big 4.
Here's an interesting thing too. Actually, I can set up that trivia game so that it's a knockout. You know what I mean? So we start with everybody on the same page. If you get the question wrong, you're out. I don't know if that's as much fun. We could try one of those. Yeah, obviously, TWE.
Yeah, right, Tampa? You're right.
I mean, yeah.
Terry. No one's going to argue with you on that one.
No, I don't think so. But that's the whole thing. So I was going to say, I ended up getting hooked into this thing on YouTube that started as, and it's kind of creepy as shit, because it shows a lot of video of performers, not just wrestlers, but performers who die on stage or in the ring.
What's wrong with you, dude?
I started watching it not because I didn't start watching it because of that. I watched it, dude. I'm saying because it was things that you didn't expect to see on TV or some shit like that.
Did you ever used to see those Faces of Death videos?
I never watched them. I never watched them. No,
me neither. I never got the appeal of people who watch those things.
No, but I mean, it's like there's a couple of Ray had that one where the guy got he gave the guy a drop kick.
Yeah, that was Mexico.
That was included. They don't really like show anything.
Well, and he kind of. Oh, I guess he did die in the ring because he was dead when they had him.
He was. Yeah. Well,
I remember watching that the week it happened. Like that was weak. I felt so bad for Rey Mysterio.
Well, I did too. But here's the thing, right? So it's crazy because if you watch the video again,
I do remember that, JJ.
Yeah, I do too. I remember. I mean, dude, I remember so many guys. Remember when they almost killed Mr. McMahon? But this thing, the guy got knocked out of the ring, came back in. Mysterio gave him a drop kick so he could fall on the rope for the 619, but he didn't move. And so it was like, and I don't think Ray hit him.
No, and actually, I think they ended up saying he was out before Ray hit him on the rope.
Yeah.
And then it was just the 619 hit, he fell over, and then they were like, oh my God, something's really wrong. So in all reality, I don't really think Ray did anything that killed. I think it was like massive cardiac arrest.
Yeah, well, he had it was a whole big thing. And there were several wrestlers that were involved in that died in the ring. Not necessarily died either. Like they showed Draws, who was made a paraplegic because of that D'Lo Brown deal. Which it's interesting to hear him talk about it. But
it is messed up, JJ. It is.
Yeah, it's you pay your money, you want to see the show. And there was a Japanese wrestler who they showed trying to do a moonsault off the ropes, and he landed on his head, and they said he immediately tore up two of the vertebrae in his neck. and he went through this whole thing. He was a big guy at one of the. It wasn't New Japan, but it was one of the other promotions in Japan, and he went through this whole thing. And by the time he was able to come, he got himself back to where he could actually walk with crutches. But then he ended up dying not long after that. And then some of the other things that I watched were like, they weren't. Some of them were just telling the story. They weren't showing it. Like, for example, I didn't know this. Tiny Tim died in Minneapolis. Do you remember the guy from the Tiptoe Through the Tulips? He died in Minneapolis. Yeah. He died in Minneapolis performing at some event.
Dude, Gallagher had a heart attack in
Rochester. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There actually happened to be a doctor in the crowd. Weird.
Yeah, they always say it's their doctor in the house. There's
always a doctor in the house here in Rochester.
Yeah.
Who was it too? Here in Goonies, was it Brody? Brody.
Oh, Mike Brody. Yeah, there was somebody Brody, in the audience.
Someone who had like a seizure or something.
Yeah.
To show up here.
Yep, in the audience.
Craziness. Yeah, man, that stuff's not, dude. So again, this is. I mean, it's not somebody like working in a ring or anything, but I remember one night when I was working at the bar I worked at. You know that place. Yeah, Pillman I think did die here as well.
Did Eddie die here too?
And Eddie died here as well.
In fact, I think
Eddie for sure died here. I know that one.
Yeah, I think Eddie. I mean, I think I've stayed at the hotel before I lived up here that Eddie died at. To be honest,
many years later, I drank with Chavo Guerrero in downtown Minneapolis, and it was just kind of weird because you just know like that story at the time, and it's like, man, I bet you hate coming to this town.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways, I was working at the bar, and like we were, it was a decent night, and you remember we had the patio in the front of the bar.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we just hear a commotion, and someone's like comes into the bar, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's like not breathing." Blah blah blah. This dude was out there. He was the sober cab for this like girl's birthday party, driving like everybody around in this like little mini bus. He's out there just having a Coke and a cigarette with everybody. He's like friends or family with like half of them, whatever. This dude just all of a sudden just collapsed, and it turned out it's like a major heart attack on our patio. Luckily, one of our bartenders was an EMT, so he was like there right away till the actual ambulance got there. I honestly don't remember if the gentleman survived. He survived that night because he did end up being in the hospital, but I can't remember if he did eventually pass or not. But
yeah,
like, dude, it was so crazy because human nature. Everybody wants to go watch what's happening. And I'm in the bar on the microphone trying to be like, please respect this gentleman's privacy. Please back off the window. Please stay out of the patio. Please come to the other side of the bar. Like, for God's sakes, they're trying to save someone's life. Like, this isn't a TV show. Everybody just try to pay no mind, which obviously is a hard thing to do. But yeah, man, it's crazy when that kind of shit happens, man. I felt... Yeah, you feel bad. Like, another one, and it wasn't in ring, but just the story, and it's like, what really happened? And that's the Bruiser Brody getting murdered in the locker room down there. And dude never going to jail, never being convicted, nothing. Just another day for that dude.
Yeah,
and murdered someone.
And the thing about it, that was in Puerto Rico, right?
I think so, yeah.
See, it's crazy that it's a U.S. territory, but still kind of lawless.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. But okay, Hell in a Cell. We got way off. So Seth Rollins, Cesaro, and then we move into was it Bliss and Baszler then?
I think so.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because you know me.
I do.
I am a 100% an Alexa Bliss fan through thick and thin because the girl is talented.
Take care, JJ. Have a good night, man.
Later, JJ. Take it easy, buddy. So like I will always be a fan of whatever she's doing. But I have to say, like, you can definitely tell creative is like, well, shit, we had her tied to the Fiend. She basically became the Fiend, but lady version.
Yeah.
And now we don't know what to do because he's not even here because we have nothing for him. And now it just feels like they're just throwing different shit at her to like. So here's what I expected. We all saw what happened at Mania, right?
Yep.
Where she makes Fiend lose the match. She comes out of the Jack in the Box, the black stuff all over. Like, it seemed like the setup was that was the gimmick when she wrestles. She's going to change from the little playful to all of a sudden she's going to come in with the blood all over her, black blood all over her face and that little crown, and all of a sudden just whoop ass.
Yeah.
Or, my other thought was like eventually she takes on some form of Lily in real person, right? Yeah, and I didn't think it was a horrible match. I'm on the fence on if I like or don't like the whole Jedi mind trick that she pulled. That's what I'm saying. Like, I like this mystique. I like the modeling it after the Fiend, but now it's like, well, we don't know what to do anymore. Make her just have powers with her head. And it's like, where are you going? Pick a lane and just fucking drive.
Yeah, that's a little bit to me, it's a little bit hokey. And the whole, look in my eyes and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't buy it. I can't.
Like, how do we go from her exploding fire at random to all of a sudden now she's just doing the Jedi mind trick?
Yeah. And the thing about it is, here's the thing. I'm on board with Baszler beating the hell out of her and doing that arm twist stop, which really looks hideous on anybody she performs it on. Mm-hmm. I'm on board with that, and I'm on board with her laughing it off. I'm on board with that. But I'm not on board with, hey, look at my eyes. Look at my eyes, damn you. And
maybe you're right, Tampa Terry.
Yeah, the Ho Train. I'd pay money for that. They need a new Ho Master. I mean, look, when you compare here's the thing. We know what Bliss and Shayna Baszler are capable of. And when we compare that to what Bayley and Bianca Belair did, now I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that's just it. You got them against that great title match of Bayley and Bianca, Bianca Belair is just shooting up the ladder. Mm-hmm. She's gonna be she's that next big star for that newer generation behind the 4 horsewomen. You know what I mean? She's one of those ones that's really gonna set a mark. And then you got Bayley, who is really in the stride of this heel persona that no one ever thought we'd see out of her, because it was always Bayley the hugger, and again, just so good at it. Like, even if you're sitting here be like, well, I don't like when she laughs, though. Well, of course you don't like it. You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And I will never ever get tired of her and Michael Cole and whatever it is that's going on there. I just love that through matches she'll just, you see that, Michael? Like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do as a heel, man. You draw heat, you yell, you get cocky, and man, that's just too, like, them two should have a match at SummerSlam. I'm sad that it happened on Hell in the Cell, because that should be a feud that should be building slowly, and at SummerSlam should have been a bigger payoff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we're going to get, because it was their first match. So who knows? But how do you expect Bliss and Baszler, who could very easily, capably put on a 5-star match if you let them, have this just weird moment where she's trying to make Baszler stare in her eyes, and then she's literally doing the Jedi mind trick to Nia Jax, which, don't get me wrong, though, I like that now we see cracking and how she made her slap Reginald.
Mm-hmm.
That was entertaining. I'm just not sure I'm in for this. I need to see more of it, which I'll admit to, I didn't watch Raw last night. It was like, yeah, it's Raw. I'll wait till the crowd's back and then I'll start watching again. That's kind of where I'm at this point. Because it's been pretty I'll tell you this, because we haven't gotten there yet. So I can already tell you this. I literally shut the pay-per-view off when it was the Bobby McIntyre match. Because I don't need to see Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre anymore. I'm completely over it.
I will say this. They put on a hell of a match.
I'm sure they did, but
they tore the shit out of each other, and it's just like we talked about the fakey hardcore shit at AEW. They're actually doing it at WWE in these cases. McIntyre was torn up beyond belief.
I saw his pictures, yeah.
And the only thing I didn't like about that was the whole idea of MVP getting in. I mean, they're to me it's like, yeah, okay, I don't want to see the match, but if they're going to do it, I'll watch it. But then they need to put Nia Jax on something, a non-hurtful, and I mean that in the terms of so she don't hurt somebody. But they're just these little tiny things that their writers are doing that just absolutely don't make any sense, you know.
That's just it. Like, that's the thing. I need to see more with what you're trying to do with Bliss, because again, I'm trying to be on board with this because I know the talent that Alexa Bliss is. But again, I was expecting, like when Reginald got involved, like I was like, obviously the ring post is going to light on fire. No, it didn't. Mm-hmm. Or I was waiting for some sort of transformation mid-match from Bliss, and it didn't happen. I mean, I'm glad she won, but again, I just need to see where this is going. And so something else worth noting is that it does sound like Bray will be back by SummerSlam.
Well, that'll be nice. What?
But that's just it. To do what? To who work with who? And then once it happens, do we see him and Bliss kind of come back together? Because obviously there does have to be some sort of payoff. If it wouldn't surprise me if they do this, because WWE does do this, but you can't just let that end the way it ended at Mania. You cannot let it end like that. There has to be more to that story somewhere down the line.
They have it, yeah.
Nia could take it to some of the guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This is and when you bring that up, see, here's to me what would have been. I mean, obviously Bliss won the match, but here's to me what would have been a really cool thing. All right, if they had that situation, and she, instead of doing the mind trick slap of Sylvester, or I can't remember his fucking name.
Reginald.
Hey,
Reggie. I'm Reggie.
If she lights out, and all of a sudden the Fiend is standing there, not only to smack Reginald, but stand up to Nia.
I mean, yeah, but I want, and I don't know how they would plan to do it, but I need to see some sort of thing between Alexa and Bray.
Right. But here's the thing.
She did screw him. Well,
right.
So what I do think, here's what I think will happen, JR. They're going to bring him back, and what they'll eventually do, she's showing she has this powerful mind. You know, and she said that after the whole Mania thing, where eventually you learn to the point that you're not learning anymore and you're the teacher or some shit like that. It was something in that vein.
Yeah.
So she's showing now with Nia, and maybe now I'm starting to piece this together, and maybe it makes a little more sense now. She's showing that she has this power over Nia when she stared in her eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of what she did to Bray at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what we do see is Bray comes back for SummerSlam, but ends up like being, like you said, the whipping boy for Bliss, because she is now more powerful. And he had posted a thing on his Instagram or Twitter after Mania, and it was some like really old, I don't know if it was a Bible story or some, but it was basically about a man who like was all powerful, was so in love with his wife, taught her everything he knew to the point that she eventually learned everything, but then became more powerful than he, and he ended up just living his life serving her. So I feel like we're going to see Bray come back, and he's just going to be completely controlled by Alexa.
Well, I think that's a waste too. If that's
I'm not
the
saying
case.
it's great, but I'm just saying that seems to make the most sense with what they're doing with this right now. Or in true WWE fashion, they're going to just bring him back and pretend those two never even knew each other.
Oh, they could do that too.
Which is so weird, since he'll come back doing the Playhouse and
Oh, yeah.
she still does the playground. So it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, so Bliss wins. I mean, and I expected she was going to win. You know, I mean, there were things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it. You know, ultimately, the stuff that I didn't like is not on the wrestlers, and it typically, with WWE, it typically ends up this way. That anything that happens that I don't like, it has nothing to do with the wrestlers. Has everything to do with the
creative
storyline,
the story.
creative misses, and lapses, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're very spot on that. Again, I do love how Alexa Bliss can play that, because she always did Twisted Bliss. Like, she was always kind of like, I'm a mean girl. I do like how she plays this innocent character until you get her angry, and now she's like this mad little girl. Like, it is an entertaining character, but you got to be careful how cheesy you make it before it's like,
Right.
You know what I mean? I still don't understand this whole feud with Baszler, and apparently maybe gonna like involve Nia eventually. I still don't understand how you had Alexa Bliss cleanly beat Asuka as champion before Mania. The next week, have a no finish on a match with Asuka, and that's the end of it. Like, how is she not somehow involved in the title picture at this point? Because God knows I didn't need to see Charlotte and Rhea. I just didn't. And a lot of that, I hate to say it, people may get on me for this. I just am not on board with Rhea Ripley.
I won't get on you on it. Here's the thing. I like Rhea Ripley. I don't like her in that incarnation that they have her in.
I like you said, yeah, I like her. I don't like her holding the title.
And I don't like her holding the title. And here's the other part that becomes difficult for me. With those two, who's the face? Who's the heel?
Right.
There is no.
And at that match specifically at Hell in the Cell, they really seemed like they were leaning Charlotte as the face.
Yeah.
Like, hard.
But how can you do that? How can you do that to me, how can you do that out of nowhere?
Plus, she's been the one dressing in like all this heel shit. She came out as like Cruella de Vil. I think she had like one get up. Maybe that was it. At Hell in the Cell, didn't she dress up as like another evil princess or queen or something from Disney? Like, I don't know. And she's been heel going into the match. I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't like Rhea Ripley to the point that I'm like, I don't. And maybe Dan, like you said, maybe Charlotte's trying to teach Rhea how to be a better heel. But if that's what you're trying to do, take the title out of that equation and let them work. And then get two people who should have a shot at being involved in a major storyline involving the women's championship. Because right now, again, I had more fun watching the SmackDown Women's Championship. And honestly, even though I was puzzled by this whole mind control, I enjoyed Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss more than I did Charlotte.
I agree.
And it has nothing to do with their in-ring performance, because it was a good match. They're great performers. But I just, again, like Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, I've hit my wit's end. I don't need it.
You had the limit.
Rhea should have never came in and got just a title shot off her debut on Raw. It took Bianca Belair to debut and disappear for a year for her to finally get where she should have been.
Yeah.
Rhea seems to be the girl that's always been happenstance. You know what I mean? She just happened to be there when this happened, and it worked out. Remember her match in the Mae Young tournament? She was supposed to lose to Tegan Nox, but Tegan Nox like destroyed her ankle for the third time, or knee, in that match, and had to be done because she was out for like the next 9 months.
Yeah.
Which then made them put Rhea Ripley over, which then made her go further in that tournament, eventually sign with NXT, where that may have not happened if Tegan didn't get hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And look where it's gotten her. And now all of a sudden she comes in and, well, we got to get the belt off Asuka, and Charlotte's coming back. So how are we going to, let's have those two become the main foe. Well, I'm not with it, because again, you have great talent like an Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
You've got great talent like a Shayna Baszler, who could easily be involved in some sort of title picture on Raw. And we're just getting Charlotte and Rhea.
And to be fair, should be.
It really should be, yeah. Because again, Rhea's not ready. Charlotte's been there for many, many years now. Shayna is someone who did a hell of a job with the NXT Women's title.
Yeah. I mean,
And Asuka's out right now. She's probably taking a break. I think we'll see Asuka come back. She's company loyal, I think. I think they've made that pretty sure with her that she ain't going nowhere.
First of all, she's company loyal, and it's very clear to me that she does whatever they tell her to do without any gripe. I think Asuka is over here in the States. I think she's happy being over here in the States. If you ever watch her YouTube stuff, she's having a blast.
Oh yeah.
And I think she's probably making good money. And they say, Asuka, do this, and Asuka goes, okay. I absolutely miss the green mist.
And also they just took away.
It's just like out of nowhere. You're done doing that.
You never saw them take that shit away from Tajiri.
No. No. Anyway.
You know what I mean? Like I said, man, Raw is such in a weird place right now.
Yeah.
It really, I've never been this, I don't want to say mad at it, bored with it, but just, I've never been just so uninterested in Monday Night Raw like I've been the last month.
Yeah.
Never in my life.
It's
never.
Well,
since the very first episode. Never.
As we all know, wrestling is very cyclical. And when the people that are doing the creative don't realize that they're not changing that cycle, and it becomes stale, and then people don't watch it. I mean, it when you think about back into the Monday Night Wars, if WCW hadn't fucked up, would they still be around? You know, but they didn't. They don't pay attention to and this is the thing. These I mean, look, I understand these companies own themselves and they can do what they want to. I get that. But if you were writing a sitcom and it was going great and you lost one of the characters for whatever reason, and you just decided, well, we're just going to keep doing, we're not even going to roll with those punches. We're just going to keep doing what we were going to do. And the ratings start going down, and you don't take a hard look at what's the possibility. Why is that? Or if you do, you come up with bullshit excuses. You don't see the forest for the trees. You don't see why it's so bad. You don't see why people are turning away. It's just, well, this is how we've always done it.
Well, and you know what I think with Vince is his mindset for many of these last few years is, before at least the AEW stuff, has always been, we're losing ratings, and it's not because we're bad. It's because people don't like those people just don't like wrestling anymore. Because in his eyes, they're the only wrestling thing out there.
Yeah.
And before AEW, in his eyes, they were the only thing on a major network. So if they're not watching, it's not because of them. It's because they just probably don't watch wrestling no more. And that's not the mindset. This is why we've said this many times on this show, and I will continue to keep saying it. Until Dynamite is on Monday night directly competing with Raw like Nitro did, WWE is never going to get that shot in the vein that they need to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, now someone out there's taking it from us. Yeah. We're not just losing it because people don't watch wrestling no more. We're the biggest thing out there. They're just not watching them. Or now it's, no, man, because your numbers are going down and their numbers are going up. So you are getting hit directly by your competition. Though now it is back to every night's got to be better than the last. You got to up yourself every time you're on camera and on the microphone. And we need to go out there and just do what we do. That has been lost ever since WCW was bought.
Yeah, correct.
And until someone can compete with them again, and Dynamite's the only thing that's really out there that would have a chance, will Tony Khan ever actually pull that trigger? Probably not.
Yeah, because I think I get the impression that Tony Khan is not the same type of, he doesn't have the same mentality that an Eric Bischoff did, or Vince McMahon for that matter, where he just wants to have a product that he can be proud of, that makes money that his network is happy with. Right now,
Yeah.
I think that's the case.
And that's great.
And
it really is.
And it is. And I mean, when you think about it, it takes a lot of pressure off the talent. It takes a lot of pressure off the people that are coming up with the creative over there. I'm not 100% sure that the creative is done more by the talent at AEW than it is with WWE. But Diamond Mine on NXT.
I feel
Rowdy?
like that must involve LA Knight. LA Knight. And that's, and NXT, man, they're kicking butt too.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about a quality show. Hell in the Cell was great.
Oh,
but
Roderick.
In Your House was awesome. Roderick Strong back out, baby. Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, that In Your House, did you catch In Your House at all?
I have not yet. I want to go back and watch it.
You got to, dude. The LA Knight Cameron Grimes ladder match for the $1 million title. Oh, so good. I love Cameron Grimes, man. That guy. I went, and you know this, JR. We've talked about on this show when he first was coming out on NXT. I was like, who's this like country moonshine drinking back of the woods like dude? I don't know if I like this. I don't know. And then he did. Then he worked with Dexter Lumis and played that like scaredy cat gimmick to a T, where he's all tough and then Loomis is there. No, oh man, no, and it was like, I get it. All right, I like this guy. And then the whole, and the brilliance of, hey, he was in on that GameStop stock stuff, so now he's a millionaire. And him coming out now, and he's a Cameron Grimes, and I'm a millionaire to the moon, and it's just hilarious. Like it's so funny to see how they were making him become this baby face through that match at In Your House, because obviously LA Knight's the heel, because he's the one coming out more cocky and like, I need the $1 million because I'm LA Knight. But like they cut like the same promos leading into this match for vignettes, right? So they're each in their like mansion and have girl and whatever, and LA Knights came off as that douchey dude that you're like, some rich asshole, you don't like him. And Cameron Grimes was just like, I just want you to win because you're hilarious. Like, I want you to win this. But the match itself was so good. It was so good. And then you had Raquel Gonzalez and oh my God, who was she against? Ember Moon. Great match. You got Shotzi Blackheart coming back in and getting involved. The 5-way championship of Karrion Kross, Adam Cole, Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, and Gargano. I mean, you're not going to have a shit lineup when you have those 5 names in the ring together.
Yeah, no
kidding. And I'm not even that big of a Karrion Kross guy, but I do see why there's talk of him literally being shot up the moon and like possibly debuting like within weeks on main roster.
Yeah.
I definitely could see it, because the guy, I hate the entrance. I hate the entrance. I love Scarlett, beautiful woman, great presence when she's down there with him. But I hate that they walk out all like kind of like, and then all of a sudden when like the song starts singing and she's in the ring, then she starts to like lip sync with it, and it's just like, no, it's just weird. Now you're just being really corny. But besides that, they have a really great feel and this great heel, and he is like a guy that it's like, I would never want to mess with that dude. So it's, and I feel like it would make space, because let's be honest, like everybody wants Adam Cole to come to the main roster. Well, is it going to happen? I really do feel he's content at NXT.
Yeah.
I think he knows what's going to happen to him if he goes main roster. And I just don't think he wants that. So I can see that. But I mean, a great match. You had the winner takes all. I think it's Bronson Reed and the MKS, basically the Little Rascals from Impact, who signed over there, against the Luchador triple team there that they got. I can't remember. El Phasma. Guys in the chat, if you know their names, Rowdy, you might know.
Phantasmo,
yeah, that group. Another great match. You know what I mean? Really, really was a good match. So, dude, that NXT In Your House, it was great. NXT is just great. And so different from what we get on Raw, that it's like, I don't get it. Like, how are the guys who you're training to be on these shows giving me better entertainment on this show right now, though?
Because everybody gets muzzled when they move the main roster.
And that's just it. So again, I didn't miss it because I did watch Charlotte and Rhea, but I definitely did not watch the main event of Hell in a Cell. But what else was there on there? Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn was good. Of course, those guys can't do anything wrong. No, and I actually I like the fact that Sami won.
I do too, because I like, and now obviously since that match on Sunday, it's Kevin Owens. It's been talked about that he is taking a break. He's going to be gone for a little bit. Will we see him back for SummerSlam? I don't know. If we don't, I would say, well, so here's the other thing too, JR. I thought I heard that the draft dates came out.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know what they are.
I don't either, but so we may see him return for that. I would seriously doubt he's coming back for SummerSlam. It just seems too close at this point. But maybe, I don't know. That is like a month and a half, 2 months away. So maybe he'll be back then. I don't think they'll hold him off till November for Survivor Series. So we'll see. But whenever he comes back, it's going to be awesome. Because you got to think he's coming back for Sami Zayn.
Yeah, right.
Because that match didn't end clean anyways, too, didn't it?
No.
Didn't he pull the rope or pull his trunks?
It was there was the typical Sammy finish.
And I love this Sammy heel. I love
Oh
the
God, yeah,
Sammy.
he's great.
I love the nerdy dancing. Like, I love it. I really just, to be honest, I'm mad that it's like you could have went Mania to SummerSlam with that feud in those two.
Yeah.
You really could have. You had the Mania match. We just had this here. Put them in Money in the Bank together, but then they cause each other to lose the Money in the Bank actual match. Then you have them settle it and have the rubber match at SummerSlam in Vegas. Like, come on, guys. I'm writing this shit for you, WWE. Vince, call me.
Well, but part of the
anything
thing
I'm saying is better than what you're doing right now, buddy.
Part of the thing is, though, Vince has got that. Vince takes a look at Kevin and says, that's.
And I think that is part of it, but I think Owens has done a very good job to get over that with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because Owens has definitely become also a company guy now.
Oh, definitely.
Like he definitely bleeds WWE.
Yeah.
And he does what they ask. He's always there for them. He's always, speaks highly of the company. And I think for him personally, a big deal is he needs Vince McMahon's approval. If you watch some of the documentaries, some of the Kevin Owens 24-hour or 365, whatever those are, you see that like he is working his ass off because he wants Vince to be like great.
Right.
Now, again, will we see Kevin Owens get a legit? He's had the title runs before, but will we see him have one where it's like he actually has a good run?
Yeah.
One he deserves? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. And the thing with him is you can bet your ass if he was ever to leave or they were to ever get rid of him, AEW is going to swallow him up and make him the star he should have been.
Oh, yes.
He will go over there and run that show. And if they didn't, then that just shows they're not on their game either then.
Right.
Because Kevin Owens is a guy who has defied all odds as far as he does not have the look. Even when like Yokozuna, Earthquake, Typhoon, these guys were there and they're not the big muscle guys, but they're still big, tall, fat, overweight guys. Owens is that first guy that comes in that it's like, well, he doesn't have necessarily that height. He's just kind of a chubby dude.
Yeah.
But he'll throw his body through anything.
Yeah.
He's a star. You watch any of his indie stuff, any of his stuff with Zayn when he
ROH.
was generic. I mean, it's so many 5-star matches out of that guy.
Oh my God,
it's
Rowdy!
ridiculous.
Rowdy right there. That would be a hell of a match.
God, that would be so good.
I'd take my money for that one right now.
So good.
I remember. I'll tell you. I remember watching KO when he was Kevin Steen at ROH, and he and Michael Elgin were the two reasons that I stayed up.
Real quick, Michael Elgin, I guess, disappeared.
Yeah, he got in.
Did you hear about that?
I mean, he disappeared from wrestling, or he just disappeared
no,
as a human?
like he was missing as a human being. Like they were like putting things online yesterday, I guess. Like he legit was gone. Cell phone, car, and everything home. No one knew where he was.
Didn't he get himself into some trouble?
I don't remember. I just briefly before we went on tonight ran over this story where it was like, oh, Michael Elgin was lost, but now they claim they found him.
Well, that's too bad, and hopefully he is found. But I thought he got himself into some trouble.
He may have.
And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was trouble that put him out of wrestling. Because the promotion he was working for said, nah, not going to do it. But back to what I was saying, Steen and Elgin were the two reasons that I continually watched ROH and stayed up late at night because it's on at like 1 o'clock in the morning here in the Twin Cities. They're the reason I stayed up Sunday night, 1 o'clock. Them and actually I missed Truth Martini, to be honest. That's where's that guy now? He's probably he didn't do a whole lot of wrestling, but as a manager, I loved him.
Yeah.
But the thing that Steen did at ROH that he is not able to do now at WWE because of whatever. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, man. I remember seeing him do the Kevin Steen show because he had his own show too with I think High Spots at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember it was Mania 30 in New Orleans, and I saw him at WrestleCon do the show. I got to meet him, and like I think the day before we met him, or maybe that day, it broke that. Hey, man, he might be signing like within the next couple of weeks. You know, so like when he went up to do the show, everybody's like, oh, yeah, you gonna sign, brother? They signed you. And, you know, obviously he didn't say anything about it, but like it had just kind of broke online. And like literally a couple weeks after that, he was like officially signed on. And it was just like, man, it was great, you know?
Yeah.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Dan.
That makes, and like I said, I don't know the full story. I just know that someone was like, he's missing. They were looking for him. His like phone and keys were at home. They didn't know where he went. And I seen something saying that they found him.
I'll tell you, but back to Owen KO Steen. I remember when they signed him, and it was the biggest news anymore.
Oh, I remember his debut, man, when he came out and just screwed over Sammy.
Yeah,
on that first, like, it was so perfect of a debut. And everybody in the chat, if you're hanging out, let us know what you think of this stuff. But to see him come out in NXT, he has a phenomenal match. Sammy then has, you know, and everybody's going nuts because he won that opening match, his debut. He comes out the main event when Sammy wins the NXT title. The whole locker room comes out to congratulate, and you see Owens get weaved through and cut to the front and goes into the ring, hugs the whole moment. They all to celebrate, and then they're leaving, and he comes back and arm around Sammy as they're about to walk out of the rampway, and the whole roster's in front of them going back, and he just stops him and throws him on that pop-up power bomb on the hard side of the ring, and everybody just like, oh, how great of a debut. You had a stellar match, you win over, and then at the end of the night, you leave everyone speechless because you just turned on your best friend.
I'll tell you, too, his debut on the main roster was awesome as well.
Yeah, he challenges Cena and beats him.
Yeah.
And Cena's a guy who is notoriously kind of known for he ain't going to put a lot of young talent over.
Yeah.
So that speaks volumes of Kevin Steen / Owens then, because I'm sure they're like, hey, you got to put him over. But if Cena didn't want to put him over, he wouldn't have.
Oh, absolutely.
If he was like, nah, man, this guy's not beating me, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? And that's something, too, that it's so mind-blowing to think of, because it's like, hey, yo, Vince, Cena was your golden boy. You let that man do whatever he wants. So if he's willing to put this guy over because he's like, yeah, this guy's a star, what in the blue fuck is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, use the guy as a star. He's
Absolutely.
made gold out of every shit you've given him. You know?
Yeah. 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 Well, but you know, Dan, a lot of the stuff in ROH, the personalities, as I recall, they're very good wrestlers technically, but a lot of them are very lacking in the character development, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you definitely the guys from there who came to WWE who were like well-rounded are the guys who did XL.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Red Dragon, and they were like the best heel tag team, and I remember watching them against the Briscoes and thinking, "Holy shit, I could watch this stuff forever."
Which, now that you mentioned the Briscoes, that's another name that it's like, what have they kind of been like? They're still around, but like, they used to be a big name in the tag team world in professional wrestling, and just no one talks to them.
Well, it becomes very difficult because there's no. I mean, there are a handful of guys on ROH, that, yeah, well, yeah, Dan, I mean.
War Machine, what was that? The Viking Raiders?
Yeah, but I mean, you can't say that. I mean, here's the thing about them.
But that's just another thing.
That's not their. That was not their doing. I mean, the only thing they did wrong there was agree to do that shit.
Yeah, they signed
when they were in NXT.
WWE.
When they were in NXT, they were great.
And that's what's really interesting is this is the first time since NXT's existence that we are seeing guys stay long term there or go back like a Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Or like a Samoa Joe who's now there again. Obviously, there is something completely different going on when things are happening NXT-wise compared to the main roster. And obviously, there's people who are like, I am not going up there. You were going to ruin me, bury me. I'm a main eventer here. I go there, you're going to make me a jobber.
Or the fact that I've worked my whole career on this character, and you want me to go up there and wear rabbit ears.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
it's pretty rough. I mean, we all say this. It's always been talked about, but I'm so interested to see how WWE's landscape will change come the day Vince McMahon no longer has control. I'm so interested to see, because will we see it change? Will we see yeah, they definitely tried out a few times for WWE, the Briscoe brothers. I think one big hurdle for them is they named themselves the Briscoe brothers after, from what I've understand, I think it was after Jack and Jerry Briscoe. Like, I guess they were fans and named themselves that, or maybe I don't know the full story, but either way, is obviously Jerry Briscoe is a big deal for WWE.
Yeah, that creates a problem.
Going to be hard to bring those guys in as the Briscoe bros, and I'm sure they weren't probably willing to come in under anything else because they established themselves like that, because especially probably the same times they were having tryouts, you had Jerry still there, and you had probably Wes in the developmental system already at FCW, or he did have another stint at the Performance Center for another tryout and was there for a while. So it's like, it's going to be pretty hard to bring these guys in who are going by a namesake that isn't actually their true namesake, as far as that specific wrestling family who is already held in high regard in WWE. So, yeah. Plus, I don't know. It's Vince. I'm sure he's like, man, I don't know, man. They put a mask on them. Damn it. They're missing their teeth. They look weird. Put a mask on them, because they are some country boys.
They are.
Them Briscoe bros, you know what I mean? And let's be honest, it's hard to understand them sometimes on the mic, too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing for WWE. Like, if you're hard to understand in WWE, it's because you speak a completely different language, not because you just made up one.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Briscoes sound like at times. So, but the other interesting note, too, is AEW hasn't reached out on those two either. So... yeah, there's obviously something that's holding these bigger companies against signing them, and maybe it is just there's too much other talent that's because they've been at the game for a while too. Let's be honest, those Briscoe brothers are not young.
Well, first of all, that's right, but second of all, you think about this. I have to think that ROH is paying their top talent, who I would guess you would consider the Briscoes, Jay Lethal. I can't think of the guy's name now. The you know who I'm talking about, the panty dropper.
Panty dropper.
Yeah, that's what they call him. The guy that has the two. You know who I'm to the with his two male valets.
Oh no, the peacock.
Whatever.
Dalton
Yeah,
Castle.
Dalton Castle. Sorry, it took me so long to get to that. I know the fucking guy is. I just can never remember his name. But yeah, I mean, but these guys, they. So I must believe that they're paying these guys enough, because apparently Dalton Castle's contract was up not very long ago.
Yeah, just recently he was.
And he stayed.
Yeah, and I'm interested to know how that all went down.
Yeah, and so there must be a certain level of talent at ROH where they say, we're going to pay you this much, because let's be honest, ROH is not out on the road nearly as much as some of these guys are.
No,
most of their stuff is for television.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see, because they used to be road warriors, man. They were always on the road.
Oh yeah, they used to come to Minneapolis.
Yeah, they'd
like
come
once
to the
every
cities,
couple
like
3
twice
months
a year. Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to see if that changes, but I think they're signing guys like Dalton Castle, Jay Lethal, and they're also getting paid more because they're booking, they're producing, they're agents now, they're coaches now. Like, they're giving everybody like. That's the one thing Tony Khan did that was smart, and how he's taking care of a lot of the AEW talent. A lot of them have another responsibility off camera.
Right.
Which is why they can get their benefits and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And that's a smart thing. But then the other thing, too, is I hope he's happy there. But Dalton Castle, Dan, like you said, surprised that he isn't bigger or Lethal's bigger. I think Lethal's just getting to the point where he's kind of old, too, though. He's not a young cat anymore. You know, because he had his heyday in TNA. He's had his heyday in ROH. But Dalton Castle is a guy where I think he could have kept ROH afloat when All Elite became a thing and half of the roster jumped. I think he was the guy that could have kept him going, but they didn't pull the trigger. Instead, it was
Taven.
Matt Taven. Yeah, nothing against Matt Taven, but Dalton was that guy.
Right.
Dan was on the very first cruise, Jericho cruise. Man, that guy was in like 3 matches that weekend, and they were all awesome. And he was just he's a great character. What was Dan? If you remember, let me know. What was something Ashley or something? He used to do another gimmick. Maybe it was with like ROH or some other smaller promotion, where he was like this dude smooth sailing. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember he walked a couple got married on the first cruise, JR. Dalton Castle was the guy who escorted the bride to the thing. And the funny thing is Jericho married them. You can see this somewhere online. I don't remember where. And it's on Dalton Castle's his vlog. He was vlogging then, and he made a vlog from the Jericho cruise, and this was in it, where he's like walking the bride to the altar on the stage in the theater, and like Jericho's gotten the mind. He's like, "Oh wait, is that Dalton?" And like in the middle of the thing, he's talking about how like I've never actually met Dalton. Like, I'm so pumped that he's walking down here right now, and like I've seen him and I booked him for the cruise, but we haven't never actually met. And like that was their first meeting, is Dalton Castle's handing the bride off to Jericho for this couple who's getting married. And it was just hilarious. It was, Sea Captain. It was something smooth sailing. Ashley Remington, I want to say, was the name. So like he came out, and like they were like, Dalton Castle can't wrestle, he's hurt. I think he was selling like sunburn during one of the matches too. He was so sunburned and you couldn't touch him, or maybe that was him as the cap. But like he came out as smooth sailing like Ashley Remington or something, and he had a captain's hat, and it was something he was doing before the cruise and wasn't doing anymore. But they let him do it because it was like, well, you're on the boat, you should do it.
Yeah.
And it was a great moment. It was so fun to watch him play this different character in the middle of these like 4 matches he had that week on the boat. And again, just that gimmick with the boys, wasn't that what he called the boys, the toys, or whatever, and the whole peacock thing. I mean, the guy, he knew how to market himself, and it was like, how are you not going to pull the trigger and make that the face of your company when you literally lost almost all your powerhouse names?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going to put Matt Taven over, who, before all that talent left, he was kind of a mid-carder at best. No offense. with all due respect, I do like him, but you know.
Yeah.
Oh, was that it, Dan? He had thought he had a kayfabe concussion in the previous match. He thought he really was that dude. Yeah, and he also did a match where he played that he was too sunburnt, and they did the chops, and he was all, yeah, shit like that. He brought some. I think when he was the sailing guy, he brought whoever he wrestled like a fruit bowl, like from the buffet. Like he had like a bowl with just a bunch of fruit, and he brought it out and gave it to him. Like the dude was hilarious. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And just a great talent and a great wrestler. And it was just like ROH really missed the boat on that. And now look at them. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they've been kind of struggling to get back in the swing of things.
Well, they didn't. I mean, here's the thing. Salem Broadcasting, who owns ROH, has all the resources in the world. They just choose not to use them. You know, they don't want to spend any money on ROH. Because, again, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we have this. We own it. We run it on our TV stations. And it makes us money, and it doesn't cost us very much. Why would we spend more?
See, here's what Tony Khan should do. And instead of doing this dumb inter-promotion bullshit he's doing that is not entertaining at all. I'm sorry. I love Tony Khan and his wrestling mentality as an owner of a major wrestling company right now. But there's some things he's doing that it's like, hey, man, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are on the same page now where it's like no one's into this whole cross-promotion thing you're doing because you're not even doing it full on.
Right.
So there's no real reason for me to get invested in it. What a smart thing would be is, and it won't happen because I don't know if you heard this, but they said they're in the red right now. Like they're in the red due to the video game. So he expects this next year they'll make money. But and Silas Young, he was good.
Oh yeah.
Buy ROH and run that as not necessarily your NXT, but then you have another company. You can go and do what you want. You can put them on some smaller mid-level station, not necessarily Turner. You know what I mean? And you can build that, and you can start turning that into where you're doing all these dark matches with people who are nobody. Okay, well, now you can put them there, develop them, and then you can maybe even sign some of them, you know? And
I wouldn't even
move some of those bigger names at Jay Lethal, at Dalton Castle over onto the second show that AEW is going to start running. Because right now, again, AEW's biggest issue is there's so many goddamn people in that locker room, and they're all getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with ROH, though, is, first of all, I don't think Salem would sell them.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think because, you know, Salem, here's the thing, and I don't care about their politics really one way or the other. They're a very conservative television station group. They own more television stations in this country than anybody else. I don't know if you're aware of that. They have, and they
used to own CBS in Minneapolis.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Did they own something in Minneapolis? Though I feel like
they
at one point I interviewed at Sinclair.
Own, so yeah. City. So here's the thing: they own. Is it 23?
Oh, okay. KIM or KS.
Whatever. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's the CW. Is it still CW? Yep. They own that. Okay. They typically, if a Salem station has a news product, they are they're the ones that Jimmy Kimmel will always show because they'll get the video of all of them reading the same script, you know, about ridiculous shit. Yeah. Because that's their MO. It's we are this, we are conservative, and here is our message, and this is what it's going to be, and they're all the same. But having said that, I don't know that they would let go unless the price was ridiculous of a content producer that really generates 2 hours of content for them. Probably, I mean, wrestling. I mean, when I watch it here, they've got a lot of local advertising, so it's good for the station. And I honestly don't think it probably costs them too much to make a show. when you watch ROH, the production value compared to even Impact is really not nearly as good.
Right, yeah, you can definitely tell it.
And
you could tell it's almost like it is an indie promotion.
It is. It's in a shoestring thing, but ideally, if it was me in my big thing, I agree with you. I would, but what I would do is I would buy it and then send every once in a while some of my main guys from AEW down there, because they're gonna show up and people are gonna but yeah, not like they're doing with Kenny though. And this is horse shit. This is all the Impact stuff is, in my opinion, is that Kenny and the Bucks want to play with their pals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly.
And it's no more than that. It's not good for either company.
Now, you had mentioned Callis was fired. I seen that they did that in the ring. So, like, that's a work, right? Like, he probably still is.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's done on TV, it's a work.
Well,
I mean, that's just how it goes. Because they did it in the same vein where someone else then, like, got his job in the, like, I didn't watch it. I just saw a picture of it, and they were talking about how he got fired and someone else took his job, like, right there in the ring. And it was another name. I don't remember. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. So, like, I do still feel he's very much involved over there behind the scenes. Because him and someone else, I don't remember who it was, like, kind of were the guys that I think jump-started Impact. But it's like, how does that work, though? Like, I just don't understand how this all works. Like, who signed to who? I think him not being the constant on screen for Impact, like, you know, the fire is so he can be around Omega more, since they're really selling the gimmick that Omega has these 4 or 5 different belts, and Callis has to be with him wherever he goes. But again, it's definitely made me not have no interest in Omega now, because it's like, whatever. He's got 5 belts. Like,
I agree. I agree.
It dumbs down every other title now.
And
him holding those belts contradict all the other titles, because it's like, well, how big is AEW's title when he's still holding Impact's title and he's holding AAA's title and a New Japan title?
The whole thing is, what I mean, why would you want him if you have the biggest?
And the other companies, like, they're the ones that it's like, well, your name's getting out there. But on top of that, let's be honest, AEW's done a really good job about not acknowledging these other
at all,
or these other promotions when he's on screen or when they're on screen.
Yeah,
you never hear anyone say, "Oh, it's Gallows and Anderson from Impact." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Dan. Okay, so that's what I had read, that he was done being the vice president. But he was still just going to be there as the character. And again, that's got to be chalked up to he's going to be around Kenny way more and has to follow him to all these things now. But that's the other thing. Being the Elite, Kenny, the Bucks, Cody, and all this, they built this worldwide thing that they were able to swing through ROH and New Japan, and it really became a global thing.
No, they shit on it.
And now it's like they're trying to do that, and it's like, but this doesn't work anymore when you now launched what is supposed to be the next big company, the company that's supposed to give WWE this run for their money now. You can acknowledge it as much as you want that we're not in competition with them, but that's bullshit. You have contracts, you have money at stake, you want the ratings. If you didn't, you wouldn't be on a major network. You are answering to them. So it's like, stop with that.
Yeah, and I would also argue that at this point, for myself, and I would assume for many other wrestling fans who were fans of AEW from the start, Kenny and the Bucks and Cody to a lesser degree, because he's not on as much, hold absolutely no interest to me anymore. I'm interested in Hangman. I'm interested in Miro. I'm interested in what they're doing with Jungle Boy, Orange,
Jungle Boy, MJF, Inner Circle, and Pinnacle.
I mean, I'm interested in that stuff, but
Dark Order, like everything but those guys.
As far as the people that hold the titles, I could give 2 shits less.
it's rough. It's I love AEW. I will, I've said this before. I love all wrestling, so I will continue to support it. I will continue to watch it. Like I said, Raw's been pretty hard, so I've been taking a break. My plan is when they have their next show with fans in a few weeks here, I'm going to start tuning in again. I think also I just got tired of the Thunderdome after so long. Like, I was just over it. But I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm obviously going to talk about the things I wish they would do better to keep me more engaged. And unfortunately, both of them got a lot to do.
Hold on, Dan. Here, I'm going to save this and put it up here. Oh my God, that's funny. All right, stand by. Good stuff incoming from Danny here. Create new, yes. I want to create a new one, yes. And then I'll browse for it, yes. And then I'll find it, yes. And there it is. There you go. What do you think of that? McHell in a cell.
That's great.
That does make me laugh.
I saw one that said budget cuts, and they were putting like a milk crate over the ring. Which I thought was great.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just weird times. Like I say, we're on this cusp of we're about to see live weekly programming with an audience again. And I think we can all admit as wrestling fans, one of the biggest pieces to a wrestling show is the audience.
Right.
You as a comic know this. It's hard to do a great stand-up comedy show when there's no one there and you're doing it in front of just a camera. And that was always my holdup with radio, JR, it was some days I found it hard to be super entertaining when it was just me in a room by myself for 4 hours talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be like, you know what I mean? So like for a wrestling or like a comedy show, like we were talking about with Patrick, there's a lot of parallels. And one of the biggest parallels is they both are heavily relied on the fans because they're very, very much like live entertainment, but you need the reaction.
Yeah. Agreed.
The reaction is what gives that story the validation.
Well, not only that, the reaction is what juices up the performer.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's hard, man. So I'm just really excited to know we're getting so much because let's be honest, you look back at the pay-per-views, Mania with 2 nights and a crowd full was great. It was so much fun watching those with a crowd back.
Yeah.
You look at AEW slowly kind of building them up from what was the pay-per-view before Double or Nothing? Full Gear, I think it was. So Full Gear kind of like half capacity. Double or Nothing full capacity again. Now in September we're getting all out in an arena again, not just at the Jacksonville Daly's Place. So like SummerSlam's going to be in I'm still very surprised they're doing this, but SummerSlam's going to be in Allegiant Stadium, the Raider Stadium in Las Vegas, which is it's a big ask to fill that place for SummerSlam. But again, reports so far of ticket sales are it's going to happen. And there's a lot of things that haven't been announced for that yet. Again, we've talked about many returns. Weird, they're using a Cardi B song for the theme song, and they have not acknowledged that yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's going to be the host. Like, that's already been rumored.
Hey, Jesse, good to see you, man.
Hey, Jesse.
Rudy, how are you, buddy? Good to see you guys. If you are interested in our guest, Patrick Strait, who was absolutely fantastic, you're definitely going to want to go back and watch the beginning about hour and a half. Fantastic. The book that he wrote, Funny Thing About Minnesota. I think some of you, if you're friends with people that are comics on Facebook, you've seen his book advertised. Some people have posted up. Oh, yeah, dude. It's you can certainly watch it back, Jesse. It's fun, and we talk about that history, and we also talk about his time as a wrestler and some of the other things. I'm so happy that we're able to get guests on. And we've had a string of really good ones here over the past month or so, and I only think that they will continue to get better and more, and we'll be able to continue to bring you guys some stuff that's really interesting, that not only has to do with what we talk about with comedy and wrestling, but that are just interesting people as a whole.
It was really good. You guys need to definitely watch it back, check it out. Patrick was really cool. Get the book. I need to get the book too. But yeah, it was good times, man. It was interesting to hear, his talk of doing comedy, writing the book, and then hearing him do backyard wrestling into training. It was very, very interesting. So definitely check it out. And then Friday, guys, trivia. Friday night trivia. This is one of our runner-up, or I don't know. We'll decide who gets this, but one of the prizes is a little Colt Cabana wrestling buddy.
Thanks, Rudy.
Boom, boom.
Colt Cabana doll. Boom, boom. Colt Cabana doll will be prize number 1. We may have another prize or 2, depending on how things go, depending on what we can find. I might give you a used CPAP mask. That'd be a good prize.
I could throw one of those in too.
I would say game worn. Game worn CPAP mask.
Sign it. Sign that shit.
You can't get those anywhere. But yeah, we'll be doing and by the way, you guys that have been here, of course, Dan was the winner last time, and so ineligible for prizes. And who was the other one that won the prize?
Your nephew, or no, Jamie.
That's right, Jamie. So they are not because Sam was not playing. Dan,
definitely join us.
You can do that, absolutely, Dan.
We should figure this out. We're here. We're kind of
getting towards the end
where we kind of end up. So what should we do for trivia on Friday? What do you guys think? I kind of was thinking, since he was just voted the number 1 reason to love the United States of America, I was thinking maybe we do a rock themed trivia on Friday.
All The Rock? All about The Rock?
I think there's definitely enough.
100% about The Rock? I'm down with it.
Because I think we could throw in stuff from his movies and shit.
Oh,
too.
Sure.
I don't know. Did you keep up with the whole season of The Young Rock?
I believe I watched it all.
It was great, wasn't it?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So why don't we are you guys okay with that?
Y'all down for some The Rock trivia?
And here's the thing: you can start looking up, do a little studying of The Rock.
Yeah,
and
now you guys know.
You'll know what's coming. Those of you that are here, you'll know what's coming, and not only that, but you'll have a little bit of a leg up because you'll know what we're going to be talking about, and you can get your stuff ready, and maybe do a little studying, do a little reading of the Wikipedia about Dwayne the Johnson Rock. I think that's whatever. Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Thank you. I knew what it was.
It may take a couple tries, but we get it.
I knew what it was.
Dan, are you saying you saw most of his movies, if not all? Wasn't he in Escape to Witch Mountain, the remake? Because that I definitely didn't see.
Oh, I wanted to. While we're here, I just want to. I'm going to do one other quick thing.
By the way, your background tonight is amazing,
dude. So this is. I got it.
That's Tommy. Isn't that Dreamer? You got Aldous in there.
Dude.
Morrison, Cabana.
Yeah, this is a newer game.
Warhorse.
What? This is a newer game. Let me look it up here quick, because I already see. I get the thing, and then I don't remember what they are. Hold on here.
Called Boom Boom Cabana.
All right, let's look, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. I was gonna mention it before. This is This is a game called Retromania. And
they're that the ring they're in right there is apparently in the Pro Wrestling Tees building. Which, by the way, when we go down there for Labor Day, we should definitely go to Pro Wrestling Tees store,
oh, absolutely,
the brick and mortar store.
But this is Retromania Wrestling for the Xbox, and there's some matches, and then they also have a Royal Rumble in there. And it doesn't say exactly when this game came out, or does it? No, because he does a shit job of. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Retromania Wrestling now available for PC via Steam, on Xbox One S, X, Xbox Series S, X, and Nintendo Switch. Came out on March 23rd of this year. So it's not very old at all, but I mean, here's the roster. You got the Road Warriors, Austin Idol, who I don't know if you remember him. He was an old NWA wrestler. Big Stevie Cool, who is part of the Blue World Order. Of course, the Blue Meanie.
It's Stevie Richards.
It is. But yeah.
Also known from Right to Censor.
There you go. Brian Myers, who apparently is a TNA Impact wrestler.
You know who Brian Myers is?
I don't know who he is.
That's who's Cardona's guy? Kurt Hawkins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, him and Ryder, he was the guy that had the losing streak forever.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's Brian Myers.
Oh, here's the thing. Because they give different names. Cold Cabana.
Cold Cabana.
Which is Cold Cabana. Hawk from the Road Warriors. Hollywood Nova.
Which is also from the Blue World Order.
Yep. Jeff Cobb, who's
I remember him.
New Japan. Johnny Retro.
Didn't he come and do like one big match in AEW and then they just never came back?
Yeah, Cobb. Well, so Jeff Cobb was on ROH.
But he
at the time.
They brought him in early on Dynamite.
They did.
One in the and he did like a one-off and never came back.
Yes, they did.
That was weird.
Matt Cardona is in this. Nick Aldis, yes, is in this. Nikita Koloff is in this. Tommy Dreamer, Warhorse, and Zack Sabre Jr., who I'm not familiar with.
I think another New Japan guy.
New Japan, yes.
And he's done stuff here. Maybe Impact back in the day. I don't remember.
Gotcha. But anyway, that's that game, and it looks like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that thing looks awesome. I really am mad that it's not on like PS4, so I could play it.
Hold on here, because did I close it? Yeah, I already closed it. I think there was a version for PS4.
Ooh, I'll have to look on the store.
But it's retro. Was it Retromania?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say Retromania?
Yep, Retromania.
So,
welcome to Retromania.
Definitely look that up.
Yeah, it does look like a lot of fun.
And I was gonna just see if I. Oh yeah, I did do it here. I'm gonna open that up. Oh no, I didn't do it right. Oh no. Well, anyway, if you can see that. Yeah, if you can see that, I'm working on getting it's supposed to be transparent, so I somehow screwed it up, but oh, that's right, because it was hard as hell to get it transparent. Anyway, I'm going to start doing fake cameo videos. So, if you'd like to have a fake cameo video, just contact me. Jesse knows I do a good job.
So wait, when you say fake, like, are you just on Cameo now?
No, I'm not on Cameo.
Why not?
Well, because I don't have enough stroke to be on Cameo.
You got as much stroke as you got.
I know people who were on there that shouldn't be. But I don't have people to vouch for me. Like,
so,
I know,
did you see that WWE did?
Jesse will vouch for me. Sweet.
Did you see WWE's doing some like SummerSlam specific like cameos?
No, I didn't.
With superstars. Yeah, I don't remember the list. I do know the prices were ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
Bliss was like $600.
Yeah,
But I want to say I just read something the other day that said Charlotte's in it too, and like no one's bought one from her.
But why would you? You know,
they're so fucking expensive.
Oh, the Screw It, Let's Do It song? Yeah, I couldn't play that for Ace.
Hey, thanks, Cheesy.
Yeah, thanks, Cheesy, man. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, it sucks that I can't hear stuff.
And plus, the thing that sucks too is because it was running through Corey's OBS and it kept cutting out. That was sort of a little bothersome. But I mean, I don't even know the lyrics. You know how that is. But I think I'll be doing a little bit more of that kind of stuff because I don't have anything else to do. You guys, I started a new job on Monday. So this may be the last Thursday and Friday I can be on with Corey during the day.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, I gotta do my work.
Damn, dude, the cheapest cameo for Sting.
$500.
I
Yeah.
would never pay that.
See, here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of I go through there from time to time. There's
Virgil
a lot
is
of
$69.
who?
Virgil.
Yeah, of course he is.
Flair's 500.
There were a lot of I go through there. There's a lot of people you can get that are not expensive.
No, Summer Rae's only $49 for a cheaper one from her.
Yeah. Then there's
Charmel is $29. Jerry Lawler's $300. Jesus.
Yeah, which I would never pay.
I would totally pay.
Lance Archer was like $50.
Yeah, I'd totally pay $50-$60 to have Summer Rae be like, hey, watch the 2 count.
I would too. I mean, in fact, I was thinking about that, and I should have done it way back when it was dirt cheap during the pandemic.
Oh, dude, we've got to do this one.
Who?
Actually, I'm not going to say who, because I'm going to just get it for us eventually, and I'm going to surprise you with it.
Oh my god.
Yep. Good thing tomorrow's payday. Oh, Slaughter's $200, dude. We can just get him to do it at the Waterloo.
Yeah, well, we'll do all of that down in Waterloo. By the way, you guys, if you there's still tickets available to go to the Trago Stiz.
Nick Gage, 25 bones.
Poor Nick Gage.
That's because he probably just is like, whatever.
Yeah.
Barry Horowitz, $30.
I know, king of jobbers, but still.
Hell yeah, dude. Thunder Rosa, $60 for a cheap one.
Yeah, see, I would do Thunder Rosa. I would pay for that.
$130 for Baron von Raschke, which we'll see him as well.
I'm not paying him.
Waterloo.
I'm not paying him $130.
$65 for Sonny Kiss. This is fun. Ian Riccabody, $10 is his cheapest.
Here's the thing, though. Baron von Raschke.
55 for Kylie Ray.
Dude, you should get that one. You like her.
I love Kylie Ray. She's awesome.
Here's the thing. Baron von
50
Raschke
for Evo Uno.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's like it's he's undercharging. But Baron von Raschke, 130. See, here's the problem with Baron von Raschke. Okay, he's got to pay. He probably only making 30 for himself. He's got to pay somebody $100 to help film it.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. Heather Monroe, $20. Here we go. This one's hilarious. Marty Jannetty. Guess how much he wants for his cheapest camera?
400.
70 bones.
That's it.
And he killed the guy. Maybe. Taylor Hendricks. Don't know if you know who she is. $40.
I didn't even know it was a she.
Yeah, she used to be pretty heavy in, I think, ROH.
Okay.
I met her at 32 weekend. We did an interview for her. Jimmy Jacobs, $30. Leva Bates, $50.
Leva Bates is worth $50.
For sure she is. She's a sweetheart, too. I love that girl. Stevie Ray, $25. Mandy Leone, $40.
She was ROH too, right?
Yep. She was on the very first Jericho cruise, and I was surprised. Oh, really, Dan? That Jannetty's going to be joining the cruise? Ugh.
Well, maybe he'll drown. I mean, I don't mean that in a. I hope he does. I mean, maybe that's what'll happen. He'll get
But the
drunk
thing
and
is,
fall
if
over.
Well, and that's just it. If he's going to be there, he's going to just be a drunk asshole the whole time and try to just sleep with every girl that's on the boat. Like, he will ruin it. Like, he's just not. I told you at WrestleMania 32, I saw him in a water fountain of a hotel lobby because he was so drunk. Like, the guy's just an idiot. Veda Scott, 25.
Oh, that's it?
Ah, for her cheapest one. ODB, 60.
I don't know if I'd pay 60 for her.
Zach Gowen, $25. If you guys remember him, he was the one-legged wrestler from WWE.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Josh Matthews, 25.
Mm-hmm.
Lita, $100.
That's not bad.
No, and in case any of you want to support an asshole, Joey Ryan's on there for 50 bones.
No.
Who else? Will Ospreay for 85.
That's not bad. Will Ospreay's top talent.
AC Romano, 25. Brian Clark, also known as Adam Bomb, 75.
Brian Clark was a big shot, though, towards the tail end of WCW.
Yeah, he was. Scott Stanford, $30. Dylan Miley, $40. Can you guess who that is? And actually, what was his name? I'll show you the picture. I can't remember his name. Lars.
Oh, Lars Sullivan.
Yeah, that guy. $40. He's
too much.
And there is another one on here. Again, you'll probably see it if you go look at all the wrestlers on there, but I think I'm going to get it. Can you, like, I don't know how these cameos work. Can you literally get a cameo and be like, I just want you to talk about our show?
Yeah.
Like, make sure you're all watching the two.
They'll do whatever you ask them for. Because I've gone through and because that's always been a question too. It's like, oh, it's my birthday, I mean, they'll do it. You know, I would and you know, they'll do whatever you. I mean, they might not be as long as some of the other ones where it's like, hey, it's my birthday. Would you say hello to my grandson for his birthday? You know, and did Dalton do it on Cameo, Dan? If he did it on Cameo, that'd be interesting. So they used to put that little logo on there, and then, but it's like but the whole thing is anyway. The point being, they do it, and they'll do whatever you want them to. But I have a feeling that if you like, hey, I want you to endorse my product, they're not going to be nearly as lengthy with it as they would if it was like, hey, it's my buddy Ace's birthday. And he has this show, and it's called this. And when you really sort of burn him about it, then they'll probably do more about that than if you said, hey, here's $40, talk about my wrestling show. Yeah.
I already know what I'm going to do.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I already know. I'm going to get one that's congratulating you on your new job, but I'm also going to have him be like, hey, but also talk about the 2 count. But I think you'll like it.
Do you tell him I'm the oldest guy on Twitch?
Okay, yeah, I'll tell him that.
They won't give a shit. How old is he? 86. 86 years old, still doing Twitch. He would be doing Vines, but they closed that down.
Yeah, he would be TikTok.
He would be doing TikTok, but he keeps thinking it's a clock. That's what he'd do. He would do it. Party time. Oh, party guy, captain from the Deadliest Catch, Sig Olsen, or is it a different captain? They had a couple of them on there, I think. Yeah, those guys will go and go and go. I was the guy that. Well, they're all old, Dan. They're all old. My booker that booked us up into Alaska said that they were doing a show and that Sig Hansen from the Northwestern showed up. Jim Cornette would be crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want him endorsing anything I did though. I bet Cornette's probably hilarious on something like that. There's another thing too that's not Cameo, and I can't remember what it's called because I was looking it up. It's like,
that was the other thing we looked at. You were going through that with me one day.
Which?
Because who was the other thing that's like Cameo?
Oh yeah.
Because who was it that you were like, we can? Who was it? It was someone that ended up becoming like making a name something, right? Remember you were like, oh, we could have had her do this.
Evilise.
Yeah,
who got fired?
Evilise. Yep.
Yeah, but that was an endorsement thing where they would do it on their social media, and you'd pay them, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad amount of money for her to do that, but it was more than I wanted to pay. But there's Cameo, which is the video one, and then there's another video one that, and some people are on both. So sometimes it behooves you to shop because they might be on both. They might charge a little less on one than they do on the other one. Just saying. But I can't remember what it is. If you look up Cameo, if you type in Cameo into Google, I think the other one pops up too, further down the search. So,
Nice.
interesting business.
Hell yeah, man. Well, should we do some plugs and stuff? And
yeah, let's do it.
Hop out. I got a early tea time, and I still haven't eaten any food today.
Oh,
I'm very excited, JR. You know the stuff I've been dealing with the last couple months, and
I do.
It's just been a lot of stress, just in life, work, and everything's kind of just been mounting up. That I'm just like, ugh.
Yep.
So these couple weekends we have coming up this summer where we're going to get away, much needed. But tomorrow I get a random day off, and I'm literally spending it on the golf course. I have 2 different tee times. I'm not leaving. I'm going to be there all morning and day just because I just need to get away.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go spend it on the golf course, and I'm
good for you.
Excited for this. But yeah, man. So I need my beauty sleep. You never know. There might be some single girls out there on that golf course.
I am the beer girl.
I lost some weight. I'm feeling a little good about myself lately.
The beer girl, man.
Yeah, they don't have one where I go.
What the? You remember? You should tell them about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody there during the day.
God, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah, Dan. By the way, Dan, you got your prize in the mail. All was good. I know you said you got it, but it wasn't damaged, right? I would assume you would have said something, but you never know with those postmen.
They always ring twice.
This is true. But yeah, hopefully you got the package just fine.
So you got
that sucks, Dan.
Yeah. So you got a show with Wes coming up this week, or?
Oh yeah, actually yes, I do have a new episode. I don't know exactly when it's dropping. Our last one just kind of dropped, so probably either the end of this week or beginning of next week. We'll have another episode out on the VOC Nation. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's gonna be warm, 80, 84 tomorrow. So, but that's all right.
Going back to shit.
I can't drink alcohol either at the moment, right now, because of some of the stuff that's going on. I'm not allowed to due to doctor's orders. So it will be just a lot of water tomorrow. But yeah, new Briscoe Big A show should probably drop end of the week or early next week. Check it out on the VOC Nation, wherever you can download podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. Just type in VOC Nation Briscoe Big Ace. You'll find it. Shotgun Wrestling, our good friends. If you check out their YouTube, they actually post a little video from the last time we were in Waterloo of our live recording of Briscoe Big Ace.
Nice.
Where we had the ridiculously large panel that we did not plan on having for that show. We had planned on just me, him, and Beth Phoenix, and then it turned into Sergeant Slaughter, Beth Phoenix, Jerry Briscoe, James Jeffries, Thunderbolt Patterson, and then 3 other guests that weren't even at the table. They were just in the crowd. But yeah, man. So check that out. Again, we're pumped. We're going to be the official podcast of the Hall of Fame this year for George Tragus Lutha's induction weekend. So if you're down there and you have an all access pass, catch us at 3:00 Friday in between the tournament and the evening show, which stacked show. I think this just came out. The women's tournament will feature Queen Bee Brooke Valentine. If you don't know who Brooke Valentine is, great talent out of the Midwest. Check her out. Miranda Gordy, Briar Hale, and Heather Monroe. And the men's tournament's going to feature Gary J, Jossie, AJ Smooth, Jeremy Wyatt, one called Manders, GPA, Jeffrey Percival Austri, Wes Briscoe, and the Drama King Matt, also known as Aiden English. So again, you have your evaluations in the morning, you have your tournaments at like 3 or like noon or 1 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock podcast with me and Wes, and then 7 o'clock the big show, which if you're down there you'll catch me and JR there, so make sure you say hello, introduce yourself, tell us that you listen or watch. We'll be glad to meet you. Maybe even have some like magnets and merch and stuff.
We'll have magnets.
You can even
we'll have magnets
buy or something, and then
Definitely.
obviously we'll be at the banquet the next night, which is included, and all that fun stuff. Very cool. Well, I won't say anything about that yet till it's actually announced. So check all that out. But yeah, very big weekend in Waterloo. And again, too, if you are a wrestling fan and plan on being in Chicago Labor Day weekend for All Out or any of those GCW shows, and you're a fan of us, let us know, because we definitely want to have a nice little get together with some of our friends from all over who we know are going there.
Absolutely.
Big shout out to Jason and Erica. They're going to be down there that weekend.
Absolutely.
So definitely hope we can connect with them and everybody else, man. But yeah, so check all that out. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. The Briscoe Big A Show YouTube channel, Velvet and Briscoe YouTube channel. Check that out. Red Velvet and West Briscoe. They're putting some cool vlogs up right now. One just dropped today of them going to a signing in New York together. So yeah, just all sorts of cool things out of Big A's camp. So make sure you check them all out and support all of us because we work hard.
Absolutely. Awesome. And I got nothing going on, but I'll be on with Corey on Twitch Talk tomorrow at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and on into the afternoon. Otherwise, we will get our rock trivia questions ready for all of you. Remember, and tell your friends, tell your wrestling buddies, those who you know who enjoy wrestling and like a little bit of trivia, that thanks, Dan, that we will be doing wrestling trivia 9 p.m. on this Friday, and it'll all be about The Rock, and I'll get it all scheduled up in the Twitch channel here, and we will look forward, and we definitely know we have one prize. We will maybe have more than one. There it is. Boom, boom. Colt Cabana. By the way,
I hope he sees it and he's like, what the hell are they giving my stuff away for?
By the way, personally handed to Ace by none other than Colt Cabana himself. And I'm a witness. I saw it happen.
His luggage, guys. This was in his luggage.
He said, "Wah, here, have it for your show." That was pretty
$10.
Cool.
No, yeah, it's very cool though, guys. Like, yeah, I got it from Colt. We're gonna give it away during the trivia because I love Colt, but I do have other merch from him, and I've met him a bunch of times. So I was like, well, it'd be cool if we give this out. So that's what we're gonna do. Plus, man, it's Colt Cabana, guys. You got to support him. He's like one of the guys who's like been able to really self-support himself in the world of wrestling while not necessarily being signed to a major company till just as of late.
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say without being a sellout.
Yeah, he became a big deal with the art of wrestling. Like, he also put wrestling podcast on the map, really. Let's be honest. Like, they were out there, but no one took it to the level that he took it, to where that became where, hey, man, he's making money just doing that in wrestling.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, he just launched a new podcast. It's a thing, I guess, now where, like, as fans, you can email him, like, wrestling stories you've experienced, and he'll read them and, like, talk about them on the show, I guess.
Oh, very cool.
Premise, which does sound very cool. So make sure you check it out.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you again for all your support. We appreciate it very, very much. Thanks for the cheers. Thanks for the subs. And we will see you on Friday night. Have a good weekend. Fuck me. Have a good night.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you guys.